Right, hello, good morning, and welcome to the show. This is Good Morning Ghana live on Metro TV. It's a Thursday, the 14th day of March 2024. By His grace, we're live and we're here. We're at another edition of the show. Our gratitude to go to the Most High God for the rare privilege of being alive and, of course, the opportunity of having another conversation around the top stories making rounds here in our dear Republic. I'll let you into our panel for the morning's conversation shortly, but let's take a look at the front pages of our newspapers. Daily Graphic. Ghana Apprenticeship Program launched. 50,000 to receive job skills. Agric Ministry rolls out Planting for Food and Jobs 2.0 in SHSs. Stanchart projects $1 trillion Africa exports by 2035. And there's a special supplement on Made in Ghana goods and services in today's edition of the Daily Graphic. The Ghanaian Times. At launch of Ghana Apprenticeship Program, government invests $500 million in TVET within 7 years. VIP. Clamp down relentless illegal mining in Asem Krom. Catholic priest appeals to MUSEC. Sami Oku elected Vice President of African Lotteries Association. Inflation declines marginally to 23.2%. Statistical Service. Daily Guide. Government sponsors 50,000 apprenticeship. Manager. Girlfriend. Plotted. Murdered Jirapa Dubai owner. John Kuma's death. Autopsy report rules out foul play. SKP Chinese bribe prison officers with KFC and 1,000 Ghana cedis. Nigerian gets 10 years for human trafficking. A new crusading guide. Let's have confidence in Baumia's vision for economic development. Paul Chumberima. VIP to launch Ghana card at birth today. Asensu Boachi pays tribute to late Ochima Boaji. We had our differences, but our friendship remain unchanged. Chief Justice and Judicial Council cited for contempt. Ozu Bempa flays Mahama over dooms of politics, says his attempt to cause artificial dooms won't fly. YE equips 21,000 youth in construction and brick production. The Insight. High taxes killing us. Glaucoma patients cry out over cost of medication. Alliance of Feminist CSOs blast MP Afenyo Markins over comments against Professor Jane Opokwajiman. Minority accuses Bank of Ghana of illegally writing off 48 billion cedi state debt. English. Adedenta installs Nadede as developmental queen mother for entire community support. Starvation is a war crime. Notes from the Israeli genocide against the Palestinians. The Daily Statesman. NPP government invests 6 billion cedis in TVET. VIP describes commitment as unprecedented. Ghana-Denmark launch strategic cooperation. YEA trains 20,000 youth in brick production and construction. Ghana-South Africa formalize multi-sectoral engagements. The New Finder. We are impressed. MPs praise Ghana card printing factory. YEA equips 21,000 youth in brick production and construction. Inflation rate falls slightly to 23.2% in February. $500 million invested in TVET as apprenticeship program to train 50,000 is launched. Daily Post. JB Killer's trial as Lowusu's name pops up in court. Our revamp NHIS when elected president, Mahama. NDC Tama Central Secretary mocks MCE, says his comments about Mahama's visit is childish. And that's about it for the front pages. We'll be back shortly. Right, welcome back to the show. If you just joined us, this is Good Morning Ghana live on Metro TV. With me on the show this morning is Dr. Tia Abdul Kabiru Mahama, who is the technical advisor to the Vice President and also the NPP's parliamentary candidate for the Wale Wale constituency. Doc, good morning.
Good morning, Doc.
Okay. How are you?
I'm doing well.
The second part of my description of your credentials, is that correct?
Yeah, it is correct.
Parliamentary candidate for MPP Wale Wale.
Yeah.
No Ben, no curve.
That is the status quo until otherwise determined.
Okay.
Because we must provide a caveat that there are still some pending issue at the High Court in Tamale, where the incumbent MP is not agreeing to the outcome of the election, alleging some voter irregularities. So, but the EC has declared, and
The
that
EC
is
declared.
the EC duly declared,
Okay.
and that is the status quo, and the party's position until a ruling to the otherwise is given. I think that it is right.
So has the
and
court started hearing the case?
Yeah. I think the court started. They filed in a writ of summons to set aside the results, which was supposed to be heard on the 26th or 27th of January, but the party filed a counter motion to set aside that writ of summons on grounds that the applicant respondent did not follow internal mechanism, exhaustion of internal mechanism, while the party constitution clearly says that if any candidate or any member feel aggrieved on any matter, the first point of recourse is the party. And even the rules governing the very elections that we conducted, it clearly stated that under page 5 of the application form, the rules and regulation governing the election, that under no circumstances should any aspiring parliamentary candidate send any issue regarding this election to court until and unless the person he or she has fully exhausted the internal mechanisms. So I think the party came on that particular provision or that particular rules to which the applicant respondent assented or signed and duly witnessed by his deponent. So the party came on that through that angle. So that was moved on the 27th. The court said the 15th of this month, which is going to be tomorrow, for the determination of that matter. Okay. I think once that is determined, then we don't know the next course of action.
Right. Okay.
But my general appeal is that litigation on an election matter does not heal wounds. We have to be much more rallying each other, building consensus, and trying to forge ahead to win the battle ahead.
Have you acted in that regard?
Yeah, I think they say that the winner must be magnanimous in victory, whilst the loser will be gracious in defeat. I think I've tried my possible best. I extended my hand of magnanimity to the MP immediately after the election. Of course, I'm still also engaging her to come to understanding the fact that elections are over, and after elections there are no campaigns. So I'm trying, and I'm engaging people who matter to equally talk to her in this regard. Yeah.
Okay, all right, okay. We'll get back. There's another question I have for you on this, but I'll do that later on. Also with us on the show this morning is the legal practitioner, who's also the National Communications Officer of the NDC, Sammy Jamfi. Sammy, good morning.
Good morning, Doctor.
How are you?
Things are tough, but we are managing.
But is it Kenke is now 2 cities?
Kenke?
That's what our Greek minister said. He said planting for food and jobs has dropped the price of Kenke.
In which part
Haven't
of Ghana?
you heard or read that?
I heard him making noise about the failed Planting for Food and Jobs program. But, very typical of this government and their appointees, they are always economical with the truth. But Ghanaians, know the reality. Like Bob Marley said, he who feels it knows it best. And we know that today if you go to Usu, or even this area, to buy Kenke, you're going to get it at around 5 Ghana cedis for one. You understand? We know that today food inflation in Ghana is one of the highest in Africa. One of the highest. Only yesterday, the Ghana Statistical Service released information on the rate of inflation, and food inflation is hovering around 27.1%. And so, in any country where food inflation is at such an astronomical level, what you expect of duty bearers, what you expect of ministers of state, is candor, is some humility, in admitting the difficult times that people find themselves in. Doc, it's not just about food prices. As we speak today, you need more than 13 Ghana cedis to get $1. It is even worse relative to the CFA. Today, the CFA, 1 million CFA, which used to be sold at 6,500 in 2016 when we were leaving office, is today being sold at 21,500. Look at the quantum leap. And so all traders who go to Burkina Faso, Ivory Coast, Togo to bring in onions and different products, today their businesses are on their knees. things, their businesses are collapsing because of the free fall of the cedi against the CFA, against the dollar. And on top of all this, the high interest rates, in Ghana today, which is the highest in Africa. On top of all these, factors which have plunged us into untold hardships. Doc, we are back in doomsday.
Okay, we'll get back to that issue.
I mean, so how can any Minister of State mount a podium today and brag about food prices coming down when the opposite is the case? It's an insult to our sensibility. But very good morning to you and my brother, Dr. Kabiru, and congratulations on your challenged victory. It is our hope that the sister of Alhaji Bawumia will allow you this one to slide for you to enjoy the victory, even though you will lose in the main election.
Right.
I think that
hopefully we'll speak with Mr. Bembuachi of ASEP on the energy issues. The energy issues. But Charlie, how much we can get? If I say this,
where the place you buy them from?
Go to Osu. Osu is the hub of KK. But
anyway,
Doc,
I was looking for an independent.
Just to defend my brother Small, Doc. That has contended to what is the problem.
It's okay. We'll come back.
We'll
come back. We'll come back to the issue.
We'll come back.
Imagine getting rewarded for doing something you already do every single day. Sounds too good to be true, right? Well, that's exactly what Momo Season is all about. There's something for everyone. Download the Momo app on Play Store or App Store and use Momo. Pay for your day-to-day transactions to a merchant either through the QR code or merchant ID and stand a chance of winning 1,000 cedis weekly and other amazing prizes. Our merchants are also not left out of the reward. Receive payments and win. Keep using your Momo Pay on the Momo app and get rewarded. There are lots and lots of exciting prizes for everyone. So what are we doing today? Transact more with Momo Pay and more points and win big this Momo season. Visit Momo Merchant application.mtn.com.gh for your Momo for business account today. It's Momo season, so just Momo it with Momo Pay. Terms and conditions apply. And if you're looking for a toothpaste that will take care of all the family and save you money, especially in these trying times, the recommended family toothpaste is Kel 360 toothpaste. This is approved by the Food and Drugs Authority. Kel 360 toothpaste provides you and your family with all-round dental protection throughout the day with freshness. Kel 360 toothpaste is good for kids, children, and adults. Let your family be a proud family when they step out by constantly using Kel 360 toothpaste. Kel 360 toothpaste brightens your teeth, prevents cavity, and with its cool mint gives you fresh breath throughout the day and protects the gum from decaying. For consistency and quality, use Kel 360 toothpaste. Kel 360 toothpaste is another product from Samara Company Limited, producers of Sasso, and is available in all supermarkets, malls, and provision shops. You can call Samara Company on 0246 864 798. 0246 864 798. Kel 360 toothpaste, happy smile. And the pains of climbing the stairs when not exercising could be challenging for all ages, but worry no more. Lift and elevators have got you covered with the best portable American pneumatic vacuum elevators on the market today. It's a simple self-supported elevator for both homes and offices, and guess what? It can lift your goods too. Wheelchairs can fit in and they come in 3 custom-made models. It's affordable and can be installed within 3 days. Visit Lift and Elevators at Sakumono or just call them on 0200535515 or send a mail to elevatorsgh@gmail.com for consultations and the best solutions in easy vertical movement. Amen Scientific, experts in stroke, infertility, and other chronic diseases rush to treat your illness at Amen Scientific for quick recovery. Amen has advanced diagnostic devices, including MRA, that can detect and treat your illness. Amen has good medical professionals who show empathy and care for your health. Amen Scientific has efficacious herbal medications to treat your illness. Amen Scientific has nice and comfortable wards for admission of patients. Join the testimonies as other patients have done, as Amen Scientific is rated as the best herbal hospital in Africa by the Black History Honors of America and the China Chamber of Commerce. You can reach them on 0207229505 or 0245275254 or 0244227192. Amen Scientific Herbal and Alternative Medical Hospital allow Shafi God is the healer. Okay, Sammy, so you were saying something?
Yeah, I was saying that I don't know what our sister, the contender of Dr. Kabiru in the just ended primaries, is looking for. Because she's privileged to be the sister of the vice president and now flag bearer of the MPP. She was fortunate to have been made the CEO of the Northern Development Authority. And her tenure, over 400 tricycles vanished into thin air. And today, they've not been able to account for it. You know, on top, despite that, Doc, he was privileged to be made the Minister for Gender, Children and Social Protection. I think she was only changed a few weeks or months ago. You know, so I thought that she would have been gracious in defeat and allow Dr. Kabiru, the young man, who is doing everything possible to defend the bad, commodity the MPP is compelled to market today. I'm talking about their flag bearer, his boss, Alhaji Bawumia. I in all sincerity, think that the woman should let it slide so that Dr. Kabiru can enjoy this short period of his MPP parliamentary candidature. But I'm optimistic, like I indicated, that we have a formidable candidate for the Wale seat. So I know that no matter who emerges after this dispute, I sincerely hope that it is Dr. Kabiru. But no matter who emerges, I know that the NDC will be successful in this election. So far, even the assembly elections in Wale points to a clear direction, even though that is not partisan. We all know the underlying currents for assembly elections. And if you look at it, the NDC is far ahead of the MPP in Wale. And that gives me confidence that come 2024, we are going to win in Wale. But Doc, let me just correct one thing I said. I indicated that today you needed 13 Ghana cedis to get $1. I just got a message from my Forest Bureau guy. Today they are selling $1 at 13 cedis, 30 pesos. That's the correction I would make. 13 cedis, 30 pesos. And by the way, when I was talking about food inflation, I also forgot to add that even though the national food inflation average is 27.1%, if you go to the home region of the Minister for Agric, who yesterday was bragging about food prices reducing because of planting for food and jobs, the food inflation for his region, the eastern region, is the highest in the country and currently stands at 47%, 20 percentage points above the national average of 27%. And so he should be the first person to acknowledge the mess we find ourselves in and the excruciating economic difficulties that we are confronted with. And what we require of him as Minister for Agriculture now is candor, humility, sensitivity, and to move away from the cheap slogans, planting for food and jobs and so on, which have yielded nothing after we have spent billions and billions of cedis on, to focus on the most important things, that affect the welfare of farmers, the important things that affect production levels, for us to have some respite. Because as it is now, things are getting bad and they are getting worse and worse by the day. And so you should revise his notes. The price of a ball of kenke is not 2 cedis. In Accra here, I can speak for myself. Yesterday I ate kenke. I bought one ball of kenke at 5 cedis. And even that one, you can see a significant reduction in the size of the ball of kenke.
It's Legon kenke.
No. I buy my kenke at Chadu because I live around Chadu. Doc lives at Chadu. If I'm lying, you can say it. It's either I buy my kenke at Chadu or I buy it.
That's why I look for.
We buy our kenke.
Your cameraman is here.
Nima and then.
Which part of Nima?
Nima, our new town.
Are you going to put
specifically one day around the?
And it's 2 cities. Are you going to put your credibility on the line?
Oh, it's not too
because we can get the cameraman. No,
he knows it's not too serious.
If you say here that it is
no, he
too
knows
serious,
it's not.
we will just speak with Annie. Doc will just have to direct. Once we close, we
It's
all
not,
drive there with the cameraman
the person
to
I
go and
asked,
buy that KK at 2 cedis.
The person I asked is a Nima boy. Me. At least 3 or 4 times in a week, I go through Nima in Newtown. And so Doc knows that the 2 cedis is out.
You can't say that. Now you want to be MP. So
on the more important, he appealed to my MP.
Yes.
But also in the course of the appeal,
he
tried to impugn what do you call
wrongdoing.
I just think that issue has been litigated in the public space, even in her vetting to become the Deputy Minister of State. I remember Mr. Alasan Suyuni, the MPP, NDC's parliamentary candidate for Tamale North, raised it. I think at the committee level, even on floor, when they were going to approve them, they raised it. But at the end of the day,
have they accounted for it?
No, I think she's been cleared, because if she was not cleared, there were issues hanging. I'm not sure the committee will go ahead to recommend.
But you use it against her in the campaign.
No, I never raised any issue of such.
Is your supporters
none of my supporters even raised any of such issue.
Okay.
So
we don't have the motors. That is the tricycles, and it is a fact. You can't dispute the fact that the tricycles vanished under her tenure. You understand?
Tricycles
vanished under her
tenure. She was a deputy, direct CEO of NDA.
And eventually became the substantive?
No, she never became the substantive. She left as deputy CEO. So she cannot be held responsible ultimately for whatever happens at NDA. So for me, let's limit it to your appeal. And let's
ultimately, but what about directly?
So let's limit to the appeal. But on the issue of the cost of living, he raised it. I was thinking that my brother will also be kind enough to tell us that the data he's referring to has shown a significant reduction in the cost of living. Okay, inflation is now around 23.2%.
Look, just be careful.
Significant reduction.
I'm saying that.
Doc, please listen to me a minute before you go on. Just be careful with your interpretation of the data. Otherwise, people might get you wrong. Yes. I can understand what you want to say.
Exactly.
But please choose your words carefully.
Okay, so once you understand, probably that is basically...
But you're not communicating to just me, so...
it's part of your responsibility.
No matter who is communicating to, you cannot say that the data I'm relying on show that prices have come down significantly. No, or there has been a significant improvement in those metrics.
My intervention was because the impression I got, and Doc, correct me if I'm wrong, is that what Doc wanted to say was that the rate at which prices were increasing had dropped significantly. Not that prices...
Relative to what benchmark? No, maybe Doc.
No, previous inflation figures.
Which one? Which one are you? Which one is he referencing?
We have discussed on this same platform when Mr. Semi Jemfi and NDC communicators were communicating an inflation figure of over 50%. Government was sent to the cleaners. Government was characterized as being insensitive, driving this economy into the abyss. We've discussed that here. Now we have the situation improving to cost of living increasing at 23%. Okay, as at the last month of data released by the Ghana Statistical Service. And I say that this is something that we must acknowledge, that the pace at which things were deteriorating has significantly improved. That's the point we all have to, and it's an established fact that we cannot run away from. Even though I'm of the view,
the rate of
and the conduct that he's asking for, the sensitivity to the Ghanaian people that he's asking for, I'm of the view that 23% of inflation is still something we can do something about to reduce it further. Even though I am not of the view that there is a point in time in this economy that prices of goods should be coming down, because our economy is not yet ripe for that. Okay, and even elsewhere, jurisdiction where cost of living is decreasing, or we are having declining prices of goods and services, they are struggling so much to make sure that prices of goods are increasing. Japan, for instance, they are struggling so hard to ensure that prices of goods are not coming down, because it is also a disincentive. It's not disinflation is not an economic booster.
But don't compare the two.
No, I'm not comparing, but I'm just saying that either way, it's a problem. Okay, either way, it's a problem. So we will want to have optimal level of inflation. And that is what our policymakers are saying, that we have single-digit inflation. Okay, they are looking at something like 8% plus or minus 2%. So basically, we are looking at inflation rate of 8 to 10% as optimal level for our economy. We are about 13 percentage points shy of that. Government focus is how do we ensure that we bring it back,
right,
whilst admitting that 23% is still not good for the Ghanaian people.
Right. Doc, what Dr. Kabiru is saying is that if I poison you, these days there is a lot of talk about poison, so let me use that as an example.
Poison? Use something else.
No, I prefer to use poison.
No.
That is what Ghanaians
then
can relate to.
Then use somebody else, don't use me.
Doc, let me use Dr. Kabiru.
Okay, if they poison you.
Okay, if you poison me.
No, I will not. You can use your...
There's a lot of talk about poisoning in your party.
Everybody's running away from poison. So please don't.
All right, Doc. Let me just use a hypothetical example. If you poison me, and I am on the verge of death, then you manage to rush me to the hospital. They put drips of water on me, put an oxygen machine on me and all that. Give me some emergency medical treatments, and my situation stabilizes a bit. But I'm still bed-stricken, still sick, I cannot walk. You can turn around and say, oh, I've reduced your condition significantly. Things are better, so clap for me. That is what you're saying. Because inflation should not have reached a staggering 54% by December 2022 in the first place. The only reason why inflation increased to that unbearable, that, humongous level is because you deliberately decided to be reckless. You deliberately decided to mismanage the economy by getting the central bank to print for you 45 billion Ghana cedis in 2022 alone. A fact admitted by the Bank of Ghana and the Ministry of Finance. And the fact that your boss, Alhaji Bawumia, who supervised all this mismanagement, has applauded. And so if you overprint money into the system that you can't even show what useful investments you did for, and that leads to an astronomical increase in the rate of inflation. And according to the World Bank, that plunges over 800,000 Ghanaians into poverty. You cannot turn around after now you've run to the IMF and you went there in an ambulance and the IMF has managed to put oxygen machines on you and so on, and has appointed for you a headmaster at the central bank to supervise you, to monitor you closely, and to ensure that you don't print any money for the government. And so as a result of that, we see some relative reduction in the rate of increase in prices from 54% to 23.2%. You cannot parade that as an achievement. No. You must still be in an apologetic mood, because we should not have gotten to 54% in the first place. And an inflation rate of 23% is still very, very high. In 2016, when you were campaigning to be elected into government, the rate of inflation was 15% by December, 15.4%. You made a lot of noise about this, Dr. Kabiru. And you said it was unacceptable for a country like Ghana to have a high inflation rate of 15.4%. You said 15.4% inflation rate was a mark of incompetence. So today you cannot be celebrating an inflation rate of 23% and a food inflation rate of 27.1%. That is hypocrisy. That is dishonesty. And the people of this country deserve better. In any case, the data I'm relying on goes beyond the rate of inflation, which has seen some relative stability or reduction, yet remains high. The data I am relying on also borders on the interest rates. And at the beginning of this year, we saw the publication. The interest rate we recorded in Ghana in 2022 and 2023, 2 consecutive years, are the highest interest rates in Africa for 2 consecutive years. How can businesses cope in an economic environment where they have to borrow at a rate of 36%? In 2022, at some point, the banks were lending at a rate of 38%, 40%. Today, interest rates are still hovering around 35% and over. So we are not out of the woods yet. In fact, we are still in the mess you have created. Unemployment rate is skyrocketing. It has hit a record high of 14.7%. Youth unemployment is around 22%. You understand? So it is not all the matrices that are on a downward trend. Things are even getting worse and worse by the day. I was just citing the example of the exchange rate. Not too long ago, it was 12.8. Then it came to 13 cedis, 13.1, 13.15, now 13.3 to $1. And you tell me that things are getting better. So don't just even look at the inflation rate alone. What about the dollar rate? Because your boss, Alhaji Bawumia, in opposition, when he was waxing lyrical about the economy, told us that when in doubt, look at the exchange rate. He said the exchange rate was the most important barometer for assessing the strength of the fundamentals of every economy. And that if the fundamentals of an economy were weak, the exchange rate will expose you to what is the state of the exchange rate against the dollar? 13.3. I just told you. When you're in a year, 13.2. Safer to get 1 million safer, 21,500. When it used to be 6,500. You're a Muslim, right?
Yes.
Good. You know that today, to go to Mecca, you need to cough up 75,000 Ghana cedis.
Exchange rate wahala.
Exactly. That is the impact of the exchange rate depreciation on even Mecca fares. When you only needed 11,900 in 2016 to go to Mecca. Now look at, we are not saying that prices should be static. We are not calling for inflation to be in the negatives. Look at the quantum of increment from 11,900 in 2016 to 75,000. Check the prices of basic commodities. So look, never in the recent history of this country, at least in the last 40 years, 4 decades.
In fact, during the vetting of my friend, the Minister of State designate for Finance, when she was speaking about Ghana's debt, the fact that our debt currently stands at 621 billion cedis, which represents a 509% increase from 2016. She says something, and I'd like to quote 2 paragraphs. Yeah. She says, Mr. Chairman, in that debt component, you have the dollar-cedi exchange issue, because all the amount is not contracted in the local currency. And so you have to convert all the amount into cedis. In 2022 alone, an additional 100 billion cedis was added to our debt, not because we borrowed, but because of the strength of our currency against the major trading currencies. End of quote.
That's factual. That is the enormity of the problem we are talking about. That once the exchange rate gets out of hands, once you lose control over the exchange rate, it has a ripple effect on all the other matrices. All the other matrices. I will not be surprised with the way the exchange rate is going to see inflation on an upward trend again. I will not even be surprised at the rate government is borrowing from the treasury market, domestic market, and crowding out the private sector. With the and coupled with the way the exchange rate is going, I will not be surprised to see interest rates shooting up again. You see, so the exchange rate is important, and that is the primary responsibility we entrusted to Dr. Kabiru's boss, the chairman of the economic management team, Alhaji Bawumia, who had told us in opposition that he had the magic wand to stabilize the exchange rate. And today we know that the opposite is the case, because the exchange rate is in tatters. I mean, the cedi keeps on depreciating. The cedi is now one of the worst performing currencies among our neighbors. I don't even want to cite, international countries outside the sub-region, but even if you look at our neighbors, Togo, Burkina Faso, Cote d'Ivoire, the city is performing poorly. So these are very difficult times. Yes, times have always been difficult, but the kind of hardships we are seeing today, Maza, we've never experienced this in the last 4 decades. And it is all as a result of the recklessness and mismanagement of the Bawumia-led economic management team and the entire Akufo-Addo Bawumia MPP government. And therefore, acknowledge the difficulty. That's all we are talking about. Acknowledge it. Don't come and insult our sensibilities by telling us that, there's a significant improvement in the economic matrices. Kenke is now 2 Ghana cedis. The predecessor of this current agri minister told us that plantain was 5 cedis or so. When, at the time he was speaking, it was over, over 20 Ghana cedis. Doc, American Embassy, opposite American Embassy, where they take the passport pictures. There is a gentleman there who sells abro, corn.
Don't use his prices.
Oh.
No, his prices are American prices.
No,
don't use it. Don't use it.
But it will be interesting.
I'll show you a place. Just 150 meters from him.
Okay.
There is a makeshift lorry station.
Okay.
How
much do they sell?
That's close to the Akai House junction.
Okay.
You will see that the price there is half his price.
Okay.
He charges $1.
No, so it means you bought from him before.
I buy a Briar I buy a lot.
So your place, what is the price now?
Which one?
Your place, where you're recommending?
I came here and on this show, I spoke about how much I bought corn. In Sawam, not Accra. In Sawam, the junction to the Sawam prison. I bought corn there. It was how much? Was it 3 cedis or so? 3 cedis. And I compared that to how much
you were buying from pay.
How much we pay for feeding of a prisoner per day. The bro back home was 3 cedis. Yes.
3 cedis. And now
that's in Sawam.
I'm
not talking about Accra.
No, now in Accra, there are places where you buy. You say I shouldn't use.
No, don't use the American Embassy guy.
It's a bit outrageous.
That's
because
dollar.
this is 15 cedis.
It's dollar. This is dollar. Don't use his price.
This is 15 cedis. I
just showed you. Just down towards Akai House.
I'm sure I can get something around 5 cedis.
Yes, there's
maybe 5 cedis. But even 5 cedis, dog. It's serious. So all the commodities, rice, water, and all that. So please.
What I need to do is that I need to do a list of places you can get food. I need to help you with that.
Help us because
you don't know some of the corners in Accra. So
let's not split hairs over this because you know the reality yourself. You are living the reality. What we expect.
Dr. Kabir, I need to give him a list.
Yes.
Of where you can find
exactly
in these trying times. That's how I can help you.
The issue is that
but just to wrap up in 5 seconds, 3 things we require from you, our leaders, those of you in government who have plunged us into this mess. Number 1, some level of remorse and contrition. Number 2, honesty in acknowledging the difficulties we find ourselves in. And number 3, credible remedial measures to bring us out, or at least to give us some temporary respite before we boot you out of office on 7 December 2024. And when I talk about remedial measures, I'm talking about at least the reduction in taxes. The taxes that your boss, Alhaji Bawumia, and your government have heaped on us are just unbearable. So far, over 40 tax items. Totally unacceptable, especially given the things he said in 2008 on Joy FM and on other platforms about how taxes were hurting this economy. See that today, you've covered your face, you've bowed down your head. You can't even look at my face when I'm talking about taxes. So please accept the reality and begin to take action to reduce our pain.
Just before you come in. Okay, so let me just do this quickly. So, the Honorable John Jinapo, are your constituencies close?
No, not close. Yeah.
Okay, so he says that, so in short, things are deteriorating, but at a slower rate. The 23% inflation is just because the Bank of Ghana has been stopped from printing money for government by the IMF and not because of any policy implications by this government. Now, Makojo Boafu watches us in the States. He's pointed me somewhere. Apparently, there is a Kenke index. It's called the Kenke index. And I didn't know. So I've sent it to both of you.
Okay.
Now, interestingly, I went to look at it, and then the project lead is actually my friend, Kobna Edu.
Okay.
Okay, so we were
Mm-hmm.
when Accra Academy together. Apparently, he is the project lead for this particular one. And so I didn't know that he had actually done this. And I think it's really, really creative and interesting. Now, so this one was even published by the Business and Financial Times online. And it was also carried on City, FM and City TV. So the Kenke Index, this is a December report. So you go through all that. It starts by saying, what do all the macroeconomic numbers and jargon have to do with the price of Kenke? It says, from a turbulent beginning that saw 2 price increases within 6 months, the Kenke market has stabilized by the end of 2023. 4 CD Kenke dominates. 5 CD Kenke is here to stay. And 2 CD Kenke is finished. Kenke began 2023. It says that 4 CD Kenke dominates 2023 by the end.
December.
4 CD Kenke
dominates.
5 CD Kenke is here to stay.
Here to stay.
And 2 CD Kenke is finished. Kenke began 2023 in the middle of a steep price increase. The Kenke index had first recorded 4 CD Kenke in November 2022. As of January 2023, roughly 10% of the Kenke for sale on the market was at 4 CDs. And the average selling price was 2 CDs 83 pesos. But by April, 41% of the Kenke on offer was 4 CDs. And the average selling price was 3 CDs 44 pesos. April was also the month when the 5 CD Kenke made its entry. By November, 1/3 of the Kenke on offer on the streets of Accra was for 5 CDs. In the same month that the 2 CD Kenke disappeared. So 5 replaced the 2. Now it says Teshi was the last stop for the 2 CD Kenke. So I'm sure that's why Dr. Kuboy was telling you. But that was
ended last year.
Yeah, ended last year, November. It says, while the selling price affects affordability, the value for money lies in the price of Kenke at a given weight. On that measure, Kenke started the year at 124 grams per Ghana cedi, a 20.5% drop over the preceding 3 months. Yes. As consumers expressed a sharp drop in their Kenke well-being through what they call shrinkflation.
Shrinkflation.
Yes. Wow. Now, the value of Kenke continued to drop another 17% over the first half of the year, ending at 102 grams per Ghana cedi in July. The market started stabilizing in July, due in part to an increased supply of maize and an increased number of seasonal Kenke sellers, according to one experienced seller. The selling price and value for money have remained stable since then, even turning around slightly. Year on year, the average selling price of Kenke on the market has gone from 2 CDs 75 pesos to 3 CDs 87 pesos, a 40.7% increase. The value as measured by the weight per Ghana cedi is down 17%. But what do all these percentages and averages mean for the average Ghanaian? Now, so it gives you the key points. The most common selling price of Kenke on the market is now 4 CDs. Kenke, equivalent to the weight of a sachet of water, costs an average of 56 CDs. That's 23.8% more than a year ago. Perhaps most important, the Kenke index found the best value for Kenke in December at Weja, Teshi, Kolegono, Nungwa, and Mamprobi. Okay. Then it says the average selling price of a ball of Kenke at the end of 2023 was 87 CDs, up 40.7% from 2 CDs 75 pesos in December 2022. Now, it says the most common price on the market was 4 CDs, up from 3 CDs a year before. How much Kenke does one get for each Ghana cedi? On the average, 4 grams. In December 2022, that was 136.4 grams of Kenke. So Kenke shrank by 16.9% over the year. Then it says, imagine a sachet of water were a ball of Kenke. Kenke of that weight will cost on average 56 cedis.
So, Doc, in summary, what he's saying is that the dominant price as at December was 4 cedis.
Yes.
And that 5 cedis had come to stay. So a lot of people were selling at 5 and 2 cedis is gone. And that on top of that, the weight has shrunk.
So now this is what it says here on this one. The 5 cedi Kenke entered the market in April. while the 2 cedi kenke disappeared in November, kenke prices now range from 3 cedis to 5 cedis. And it says, as to be expected, the higher the price, the heavier the kenke. But if one's goal was to get the most kenke for one's money, the best bet currently is the 3 cedi. But not all kenke are created equal. And it goes on and on and on. So the project lead is a Kovnaedu, and very creative person.
And very detailed.
Even in the States. Data analyst and research assistant Michael Lama, with the social media support from Benjamin Eduafuata Jr. and Felicia Fua Atta. And the data collection, transportation support was Isaac Corban and Richard Kwaku.
No, this is
and I celebrate this team. This is so
commendable.
creative.
Commendable. So why did our Greek minister lie that we are buying kenke today in 2024 2 cedis?
From this, I'm just going to take it from this particular.
I've sent it to you.
Yeah, I have a copy.
Yes.
I was even following you as you were there. This research, the takeaway from this research suggests that one, average price of kenke is not 5 Ghana cedi. As of the last, it's 4 Ghana cedi. That's the first thing. The second point you need to know, depending on where you buy the kenke, prices are bound to differ. That's the second point. Yes. The third point is that depending on the amount you are buying, the size of the kenke will differ.
You mean the price at
which you buy? A 3 cedi kenke may not be as heavy, hefty as a 5 cedi kenke.
Yes.
These are the take-home from that particular research.
To add to the take-home, the 2 cedis kenke has vanished.
Yes, it's gone.
Yes. So add that to the take-home.
No, I'm making a point. Even the 2 cedi kenke, as of now, is no more from the research. Yes. However, as at last year, you could get kenke. Maybe the time Okoboy probably spoke.
No.
I'm saying that the last time he went to the market or he went to buy a kenke.
Dr. Okoboy clarified the statement. When I pushed him, he said that the 2 cedis is wholesale price.
Not retail price. So we are not wholesale.
So why you go and buy it from buffer stock?
I think that this has helped the kenke propaganda. This has helped the kenke propaganda.
Sami, allow him.
Don't dance around.
Sami, allow him.
Allow him to say the way he wants to say.
Let me make my point.
So dancing around the issues.
For the purpose of this research has settled the propaganda either on the side of government or on the side of the opposition on this kenke politics.
What propaganda has it set on the side of the
propaganda that kenke price is going for 5 cedi. And
yes,
even elsewhere,
5 cedis has come to stay.
No, but
it is a new price now. And he said the 5 cedis price has come to stay.
The research he said it has come to stay. It is making entry.
It has entered. It made entry in November last year. It made entry in November last year. That's what it said.
What is the average price?
In April.
In April.
No, we shouldn't be talking to something that is before us.
Yes.
Okay, differently. The man in history stated clearly that average price of kenke
dominant.
The
Use the right
is
word.
Not 5.
The dominant is
4.
So that's what I'm saying.
Yes, and he said the new price is 5.
When you say a dominant price.
So gentlemen, we all read the same thing. Let me just.
Yes.
And if what I've said is wrong, you can both correct me. The research shows that in the month of April 2023, the 5 cedi kenke entered the Ghanaian market. Prior to April, there was no kenke at 5 cedis. But April 2023, 5 cedi kenke entered the market. Exactly. November 2023, 2 cedi kenke vanished from the market. Now, the lowest you can get for a ball of kenke is 3 cedis. The highest is 5 cedis. The dominant price is 4 cedis. That's what it says. Now, it says that it also shows us where you can get kenke at 3 cedis, the cheapest. Yes. So it mentions Weja, Teshin, Koligono, and Mamprobi. Yeah. Those are the places. Yeah. So those are the 4 places where you can at least get kenke for 3 cedis. So this is what the research is.
So that's the point I want to make, that we should never create a perception that the most dominant price in the market for kenke is 5 cedi. Okay, West is to say 4 cedi. The West.
No, but if he says he buys kenke at Chado for 5
cedis,
he has not spent that.
And I'm someone saying that he's buying kenke at 3 cedi and even 2 cedi, depending on where. You should ask where the person bought it from. I could buy kenke in Tamale, say for 2 cedi. The location matter. Okay, so in all this analysis, let us also be fair to people that much as their research is based in Accra and they have done an extensive work on this in Accra, there are other places someone can equally argue that I bought my kinke for 2 cedi. The question you need to ask the person is, where did you buy it from? And then we then go to check. So, but for the purpose of analysis, we have to use the 4 cedi because that is what is prevalent in the market. Yes. That's the point I want to make. Okay. Now, before this matter on kinke prices, my brother Semi Jemfi mentioned a lot of issues on the economy. And I think that it's proper and fair to respond to them.
Please go ahead.
I do not want to be one person, and in fact, that is the general demeanor of government now. If you listen to the president, if you listen to the vice president, our general attitude is that you will need to be careful when you are discussing issues of the economy, especially those bordering on the lifestyle and living standards of people. And to that extent, you will want people to know that as government, listening government for that matter, you empathize and sympathize with their situation. So it will be arrogance of power. It will be highly, if you like, political immorality for you to look Ghanaian on the face to say that things are all well with the Ghanaian people. None of the government functionaries, no single person will come to you with this kind of posture. However, when you are forced, when you are pushed, when an alternate in government, when people who have had the benefit of leading the country are making such demands and claims and pushing the government to the wall, government has a responsibility of reminding them as well that, you see, if this comment is made by someone on the streets of Accra, I'll be very careful of how I respond to the person. But if a political actor, no less a person but a communication director of a major opposition party that was in government some 8 years ago, that left government some 8 years ago, they are making such claims, you are duty bound to remind them that the figures you are bundling and peddling around are the same figures and metrics we are going to measure you and see and to determine whether or not you have a moral right of questioning the government leadership and management of the economy. This is why sometimes we come about with such difference. It's not a difference to say that all is well with the Ghanaian people. It's not a difference to suggest that things should not be better. It's not a difference to say that government is not working to improving the laws of the Ghanaian people. That is not the difference. The difference is to the fact that those people making the claims and pushing and jabbing and punching government, we are equally duty bound to remind them. He mentioned issues about inflation. We have litigated that and we've narrowed that to the kinke inflation. He mentioned issues about lending rate. Under their tenure, between 2013 and 16, they did an average lending rate of 27.3%. Okay? Normal situation. Normal curve. Nothing of a disaster. Nothing of a, exogenous factor. That was the normal routine progression. The trajectory of growth when you average every performance of that.
When did we have the financial crisis? The global financial crisis?
The global financial crisis was in 2008, 2007, 2008. Okay. That was the time of the bubble. Okay. The financial crisis was 2007, 2008. So even that was the ending urban stage of Kufuor's government. This was their performance. Now, this government, even in the midst of the economic disaster that no country is immune from, that every single country, even countries that were recording negative inflation, people refer to Cote d'Ivoire, they were doing single digit. They were doing even sometimes negative inflation figures. They have all increased their rates of inflation. Not even one single country has been spared the brunt of this inflation. Now, you come to Ghana and say that Ghana should be an oasis. It should be a state that is so immune from this particular exogenous factor. That cannot be said to be right. You cannot expect the government to be an isolation in the community of nations. You can't expect Ghana to be independent of the interdependent relations with other countries. Now, their record of 27.3% in terms of interest rate is performing abysmally against the 23% average. Under this guy, admittedly, inflation interest rate went to as much as 30% last year, 2022, 2023. And we've all explained the factors attributed to that. He mentioned about exchange rate. Again, if you are looking at the dollar...
Can we finalize on the interest rates before we move on?
Okay.
So what has been the average of the interest rates from 2021 till now?
2021 till now.
Yes.
I've not done the year-on-year.
I'm asking that question because you did an average of 2013 to 2016.
Yes.
That's what I'm asking you.
Yes.
About the average for 2021 to 2024.
The average for 2027 to 2022 was 23 point.
2021 to 2024.
I've not done the average for the last 2 years. You are saying 2022, but the average.
No, I'm saying 2021 to 2024 to the current.
2020. We don't have the current figure. Because it's year on year.
End of year.
So it is supposed to be 2021 to 2023, maybe.
Yes.
And
what is that?
If I on the back of the envelope calculation, we are going to be doing around 28 to 30%. Because of the increase of 30% for 2022 moving 2023. Okay. That is, if I have to be fair, this will be the numbers. Similar to just closer to their numbers when they were exiting or the performance for their whole tenure. So it cannot be said that even the government performance in the midst of this disaster is so bad compared to their record. Now, he mentioned about exchange rate. Again, I cannot look at the businessman on the face to tell him that exchange rate of $1 to 13 Ghana cedi is defensible. I cannot look them on the face and say that there's nothing wrong with that figure. I cannot be so careless to the trader at Makwala to say that inflation rate at this particular is something that we should celebrate ourselves of. But if Mr. Sami Gyamfi raises it, I have equally duty bound to remind them that, look, the rate of the depreciation of our cedi was a disaster under your regime. Mm-hmm. And that is why I'll come in with the averages and the performance over their tenure. Mm-hmm. And I'll remind him that under their tenure, the cedi depreciated by some 17.7% between the period 2013 to 2016. Okay, mm-hmm. Even with the about over 50%, 30 to 50% depreciation of our currency in the midst of the disaster, we performed some 10.7% depreciation over our period.
Which period?
2016 to 2023.
No, but Chief, hold on now. You are a researcher. Yeah. Why do you want to compare 2016 to 2023 to 2013 to 2016? Why do you do that?
I would maybe if you ask me to do 2016 to 2020, it is even better.
No.
It's even better. Let me tell you, it's even better.
No, that's you're not listening to me. I'm saying that if you decide to do 2017
mm-hmm.
to 2023,
mm-hmm.
then I expect that you do a 2009 to 2016.
Yeah.
But you don't do a 2013 to a 2016 and compare it to a 2017 to 2023.
And I'm saying that granted that argument because you want the
time horizon. Or you disagree with me?
No, I'm saying granted that argument because you want the time horizon to be similar. You want a common denominator.
Shouldn't that be the case?
No, that should be the case.
Okay.
But I'm saying that even if we limit it to the first tenure of this government,
no, I'm not asking for the first
tenure. We have to because we've not exhausted. Yes. And it's not be candid for you to analyze 3 years against 4 years. Okay. So the basis for comparison would have been the 4 years mm-hmm. and then the 4 years of Nana Akufo-Addo.
So 2009 to 2012.
Not 2000. It's not Mr. It is Mr. John Dramani Mahama. And there are those we are comparing. I mean, that is the record we are contesting. You are not contesting all the figures from independence. We are contesting a regime that was led by Mr. John Dramani Mahama and a regime led by Mr. Nana Akufo-Addo, which they want to explicate to mean that.
So to the extent that Mr. Mahama was not president for 8 years, how will you do the comparison?
You will do the 4 years of each of them. Mr. Nana Akufo-Addo's 4 years, and then the 4 years of Mr. Mahama.
So what you're telling me is that although President Akufo-Addo is president today,
yes,
and we are in 2024,
yeah.
to compare his record with President Mahama,
exactly,
we should do, and because President Mahama was in office for 4 years, we should look at the 4 years of President Mahama, 2013 to 2016 and compare it to the first 4 years of President Akufo-Addo?
No, let me explain. Now, there are two ways you can do it. Because of the argument that the denominator should be the same, okay, then we'll have to use either the 5 years of Mr. John Dramani Mahama, because he was president for about a year. No, I'm saying for about a year.
For 5 months.
Okay, so let's even say the 4 months. You have to use the 4 months against 4 months of Nana Akufo-Addo government. That is going to be the fair and appropriate analysis. However,
really?
Yes. However, because Nana Akufo-Addo is over a period.
Yes.
From 2017 to 2023 now.
Yes.
You may have to use all the period against all the period of Mr. Mahama.
Yes.
And that's basically what we are doing and you are questioning. Because it is only the period that we mentioned that sometimes you see that this is Mr. Mahama's regime. So you only use all the period that he was in government and all the period that Mr. Akufo-Addo has been in government to do the analysis.
So you're saying that, once again, you're saying that from a research point of view, it is professional and okay to compare a 4-year tenure with a 7.5-year tenure.
It is okay, depending on the goal you want to achieve. It is
so which is the goal you want to achieve?
The goal I want to achieve is that I will want to compare what you were able to do with the time given to you, with what I was able to do with the time given to you. And whilst explaining for that, I'll have to make provision against the length of time. In fact, in research, you have to control for the time. Because the more time you are given, the more likely you are likely to do things right.
Right.
Okay? So that is what I'm saying, that I will have to control for the time. If you're asking me from a proper research perspective, that if I'm using 3 years against 5 years, I have to control for the time effect. Said that the analysis will be fair. Okay? And I'm saying that when I do that, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. Comparing 3 years with 5 years.
No, the only thing is that you didn't control.
No, that's not okay. So but your question was whether it is proper to do that or not. And again, if I want to have the same time horizon, so that the denominator will be the same, I'll have to use 4 years of each. And the 4 years, the only proper way to examine the 4 years is 4 expended years of the person. Said that your mandate was not in any way truncated. That's the only basis you can do the analysis. Because I cannot go and use 4 years of someone completed term against 3 years or possible 4 years of another completed term. You are measuring reality, a fact, against something like a conjecture, which is not going to be proper analysis. So that's what I'm saying. There's absolutely nothing wrong. The only problem you may raise is that how do we control for the time factor? And the time factor equally plays...
That's the question I've been asking you all morning.
I'm coming. The time factor equally also plays a negative role in you, depending on how you look at it. For instance, a time frame for you to do writing, but also a time for a disaster to hit you, which wouldn't have hit you if you were not within that time period. So that cancels out, in my opinion. So that is the point we need to note. But under their regime, the depreciation of the currency...
Is it not simplified? All the talking we're talking. Is it not simple to just compare the 8 years of the NDC and the 8 years of the MPP?
It is, if we are doing government by government, it is simple. But MPP
has not extended the 8 years. So it is even more complicated. We've not done 8 years. So you are again.
Are you saying that we cannot still do the period that has been expended? Let's say, for example, you have a 2009 to a 2015.
Exactly.
And you have a 2017 to a 2023. Can that be done?
That can be done.
And is that not the best approach?
No. That's what I'm saying. Depending on the goal. If you are measuring, if the person we are so much focused about, the person giving the punch, the person, discrediting our record, is Mr. Mahama. Okay. You'll be willing to tell.
But the same Mr. Mahama you're talking about was the vice president from 2009 to 2012. The same Mr. Mahama was the head of the economic management team. Hold on. The same man, Mr. Mahama, the vice president, Dr. Mahmoud Bouamia, in 2016, told us that he had been in charge of the economy for 8 years. 4 years as chairman of the economic management team and 4 years as president. So why are you unwilling to look at that tenure as against.
I am saying that we are ever ready to do a comparison of the MPP's tenure 8 years and the NDC tenure 8 years and go on with the debate.
So let's just do
we're
that.
Not running away from that debate.
Yeah, let's just do
okay,
that.
we're not running away
so it's
from
fair.
that debate.
So everybody understands.
So we're not running from that. But I'm just saying that if Mr. Mahama was not the president, you cannot hold Mr. Mahama, who was not the president, for the acts ultimately of the NDC government. Under the period, he was only a driver. I mean, he was only a spare driver.
That's not what the current vice president, Alhaji Bawumia, that's not what he told us. And I can play that video to you. He held President Mahama responsible. And he said that he had been in charge of the economy for 8 years. And he broke it down.
But he said he had been president for 8 years.
He broke it down to say that he chaired the economic management team for 4 years and was president for 4 years. He said that. Yes, on record.
Yeah, but the same thing is being said of Dr. Bawumia. Nothing different. The same thing is being said of Dr. Bawumia. Mr. Sami Jamfi, basically saying the same thing. So that is not, I mean, I'm not even going to that kind of, argument. Because as it was said of Mr. Mahama, it can be said of Mr. Bawumia. And we can go on and go with the analysis. But let's even go to the growth. The measure, the ultimate measure of whether you are doing well or not, even though growth could be covered by inequalities, even though growth could be masked by structural problems, said that you can have a high growth rate, but within the higher growth rate, there are persistent and chronic poverty incidences around the economy. That is fair and good to say. But when you did a growth rate, just within the same analysis of around 2.7%, someone is doing 6%, you cannot say that person is not doing better than you. You cannot say that. But, of course, in all these numbers, that's what I'm saying, in all these numbers, we don't want the Ghanaian people to feel like it's business as usual. We don't want the Ghanaian people to feel like, look, we feel like things are okay. If in the estimation of Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, things were okay, and that he had done so well, and that everything was all right, and there was nothing new to add, he will not be seeking to become the president of the Republic of Ghana on the ticket of the New Patriotic Party. He will not be doing that. Okay, he would be doing that because he feels that a lot of things are still not right with the way governance is done, with the way the economy is being run, with the way the fortunes of the Ghanaian people and the living standard of the Ghanaian people. Okay, he mentioned issue about unemployment. Okay, yes, unemployment is still high. There are a lot of graduates still on the street without jobs. People are being churned out of the university. But he has also forgot to admit that this government has created more jobs than they did. Even though, per person, you may say this is still lower than what we expect. He has still to have, even on this...
Why is it that when it came to employment, you are going nominal and not percentages?
No, look, even with the percentages, the figures have been contested.
Which figures?
The figures
from
of
the
unemployment
statistical
rate.
service?
Yeah, the unemployment rate.
The figures from the statistical service?
The statistical figure, people use a point in time. Okay. And that's the problem with analysis. When you are doing percentages, it might be in unemployment rate as at the end of, say, this year. Okay. Compare the unemployment rate as against last year, end in December. That is the only basis. But people will come and through, some people will come and through in unemployment rate of, say, 14%.
Yes.
That was produced by the Ghana Statistical Service.
Yes.
Forgetting that inherent in this are seasonal unemployment. Okay? Inherent in this are casual workers who probably are gone out of work, and in the next season they are going to be employed. These figures will keep on changing.
But are those things not inherent in the previous figures? They are all inherent.
No.
If I take 2016 unemployment rates, inherent in that seasonal employment and all those things is there.
That's what I'm saying. But you are using the end period.
Yes.
You are using the end period because you know that at the end of the year we had this much of Ghanaians unemployed as a percentage of the total number of people willing and looking for a job.
Yes.
It is 14%.
Yes.
I'll compare that with the same metric, say the next year or the previous year, and that's the basis. But that's something that is contested because we use figures that are thrown by the Ghana Statistical Service at a point in time, but not end period. And you want to compare that with an end period figure. That's why I have problem with the unemployment rate. Okay. And also, when you are using the unemployment rate, you will be, because it's a percentage of the population willing and looking for a job, you'll be right. But you are not also counting for, as it were, the population growth. You are not controlling for the rate of population growth and even the access to education. Because if I am employed with employment skills, now willing to looking for a job, I'll consider myself as unemployed. Hitherto, I was not minded about that. I was doing my what do you call it, my menial job. I was thinking that it is okay to do that, and I'll consider myself as employed. Okay, Kaya people, for instance, would be deemed themselves as employed.
But that will always be the case, because if you look at school enrollment, for example, the people who were going through the system, the school system, as at 2007, 2008, and those who are going through the school system as at 2015, 2016, obviously you have that huge disparity. Yet, we are able to compare unemployment figures as at 2008 and 2016.
Yes.
And we have done that consistently.
I'm not saying that.
So why would we want to raise all these issues just because the percentages don't tell so good a story about us?
No, even that's what I'm saying. Even the percentages, government has got figures from international bodies, from even the Ghana Statistical Service, suggesting that the figures are different from what has been. That's what I'm saying. Once you have doubt as to which figures or as to
I'm sticking with the Statistical Services figures.
Well and good. We can stick to that. So my issue with all this is that, look, when you do this, the numbers are bound to vary. Okay, we can talk of absolute. They were talking about absolute even in their regime. Okay, that granted that unemployment rate is still, let's even granted without admitting the unemployment rate is higher than it was. Okay, without mentioning any of these particular figures, without mentioning of these particular variables we are trying to introduce into the analysis, they must equally also admit that this government, day in, day out, has provided for the needs of the people seeking jobs through concrete intervention that they never did. Natural progression of things against systematic and conscious efforts of government to reduce unemployment. Just on this particular day list, some 50,000 people through the Ghana apprenticeship program. Okay, the government has revolutionized COTVET or CTVET. Now, as a general body, in order to make sure that our people have the skills to be employed, we never saw most of these things happening. We didn't see those things happening under the previous regime, where we can trace the remnants of some isolated and piecemeal interventions being introduced by that previous government. But this is more concerted. So on the issue of unemployment and employment, this government is working. Again, I don't want to be an unemployed graduate listening to me right now will feel saddened that I feel like all is okay. Okay? I don't want that sense to be created. But what I want for them to understand is that government is doing what it can. Government believes in the ingenuity of the Ghanaian people. We believe that more could be done to improve the laws of the Ghanaian people. But compared to the government that is seeking to represent the New Patriotic Party, the government is of the considered opinion that it dare have no moral right to say that give back the country to me. Of course, the argument could also be raised that I'm now an experienced driver, I learned from my mistake, and so give me from that. But what is the guarantee that you will not even drive us to the abyss, knowing very well that you don't have another term to extend? Because the only contractual binding moral obligation of any government is because the government will want to seek a second tenure. Okay? That makes you want to be, consciously or unconsciously to be, the fidelity to the Ghanaian people will be there because you want another tenure. But a government coming without seeking another tenure, the president coming, knowing very well that this is all what I've got, 4 years, to really plunge this country into...
It is about the person and not the political party.
But persons are we are running an executive government, and if we will be candid to the Ghanaian people, we will know that. Presidents are the alpha and omega of how governance is run in the country, not the political party. Because the constitution of Ghana has not recognized the role of political parties except to say that we should sponsor people on political parties or as independent candidates. That's it. That is the end.
So that must explain what's happening in the second term of the MPP.
I don't know what's happening in the second term of the unless of course you explain to me what's happening in the second term of the MPP.
The issue of I'm not seeking re-election theory. That's your theory. I'm trying to use that theory to explain what Ghanaians are facing today.
No, I'm saying that
The theory of not seeking re-election leading to no fiduciary responsibility and therefore doing anything that you want to do.
But that's not...
Is that theory that you postulated? That's what I'm trying to make.
That theory is a valid theory, but as to whether that is happening in the current circumstances...
you don't want us to test your theory?
No, we can test it, and we have to...
You want us to conjecture? And,
No.
And we have a basis to test the theory today.
No, we can test it. For me, we can test the
All right.
theory.
But do you believe that theory is what is happening today?
I don't believe that theory is what is happening today.
So if you don't believe that theory is what is happening today, how do you expect us to believe that is a theory that will happen in the future?
I'm not saying that. I said that could happen.
Okay, all right, okay. I get you.
I'm saying that could happen.
I get you.
All right.
Okay, thank you.
First of all, let me just deal with this because it is one of the main plans of their campaign. Meeting pastors and different, groups of people, telling them that, don't vote for Mahama. Because Mahama, when elected, only has one term.
Is it not a fact?
He will not be seeking re-election. He will not feel accountable to the people of this country. You see, whether or not a person will be accountable to a nation when given the opportunity to serve is not dependent on the number of terms the person can run. It has to do with the attributes of the person. Whether the person has respect for the electorate and the people, whether the person is honest and accountable, whether the person is a person who takes responsibility for problems and fix those problems. It's about the proven track record of the person. It's about the trustworthiness of the person. It's not about the number of times the person can run again. You understand? And the vast majority of Ghanaians know that President Mahama is trustworthy. You can take him at his word. What he promises, he delivers. They know that this is an experienced hand who can steer us out of the mess we find ourselves in because he has done it before. They know that President Mahama is a leader who accepts responsibility for problems like he accepted responsibility for Dumsor, which was an inherited problem, promised to fix it and fixed it sustainably. And so they see his track record. They see his attributes and virtues as a leader. And they can trust him that when given a second term, just like all presidents under this Fourth Republic have been given second terms, he will be accountable and he will deliver. You see, in their haste to discredit President Mahama, they are contradicting themselves and making a mockery of themselves in the process. And that is what just happened. Here you are saying that if a person cannot have the right to run for another term, then that person cannot be trusted. You are postulating a theory only for you to be exposed. Have you soon forgotten that in 2020, your campaign slogan was, "For more to do more"? You had already done one term. President Akufo-Addo had done one term. And he wanted another term, and he told Ghanaians, "Give me 4 more years to do 4 more for you." He knew very well that he could not seek another term in 2024. So why didn't Dr. Kabiru and the NPP tell Ghanaians that, look, Nana Addo is lying. If you give him another term, he can't go for a third term.
His theory is that to the extent that he knew he was going to go for a second term, he worked extremely hard.
So
that he will get a mandate for the second term.
If we are going by his theory, then no party deserves a second term. Because under our constitutional dispensation, the president can only run for 2 terms. And so when you are coming to seek the second term, we have to say that because you will not come back to us for another term, then we are not giving it to you. The paucity of thinking. What kind of warped, bogus theory is that? So in other words, you're saying you lied to the people of this country when you told Ghanaians to give you 4 more to do more. So, Doc, it's not about whether somebody can seek 1 term and all that. You see, the success of a leader doesn't lie in the number of years he serves. It's about the impact. What Ghana needs today is a leader who has done it before, a leader with a proven track record. Look at President Mahama's record. In all sectors, whether it is health, whether it is education, even in the area of the economy, look at problems that hit this country under his tenure like Dumsor, and look at how he solved those problems. Sustainably, whether it was in the area of fuel, he gave us the biggest investment in that sector, the $1 billion Atuabo gas processing factory. Today it says that $300 million per annum in the imports of gas alone. Look at the ESLA he gave us, which has given you over 24 billion, meant to clear the legacy debts in the power sector. A legacy problem. He dealt with a legacy problem. Look at the power, the generation capacity he gave us. Almost 5,000 megawatts at the time he was leaving office. When he was in office, less than 2,000. He increased it to over 5,000. That today, because of your bankruptcy in ideas, you are even complaining about excess power. And on top of that, the man was so forward-looking that he left you a Ghana Infrastructural and Investment Fund. Now, tell me which government in the history of this Fourth Republic, which leader came to govern this country and at the time he was leaving, set up an investment fund with $250 million in it for the next government to use for strategic investments in infrastructure. A leader who set up a sinking fund. Tell me, from President Rawlings to Atta Mills to Kufuor to John Mahama to Akufo-Addo, tell me one leader who after leaving office or at the point of leaving office saw it necessary to make provision for a fund with money sitting in it to repay a loan contracted by his predecessor. President Kufuor took us to the Eurobond market in 2007 for the first time, contracted a loan of $750 million. President Mahama's government paid $300 million of that. By the time we were leaving office, President Mahama left $250 million in the sinking fund to repay the rest. That is the kind of leader we are looking for. You understand? I have not even spoken about the Ghana Stabilization Fund, which was established under the Petroleum Revenue Management Act in 2011, and the monies we accumulated in that fund under President Mahama to the tune of $250 million, which is what this government had to fall on when COVID struck. Look, this is the kind of visionary, forward-thinking leader we are looking for. So spare us that. You see, though, I'm happy we are having this conversation because it borders on bread and butter issues, which the people watching us are interested in and which they really appreciate. You see? And so when we are commenting on these issues, we need to be candid, Dr. Kabiru. Why are we having this conversation? We are having this conversation because Dr. Randy Abbey reminded us that only yesterday, the Minister of Agric publicly stated that as a result of the successes of your so-called Planting for Food and Jobs program, a ball of kenke today is selling at 2 cedis. We know, as a matter of fact, that that is a bare-faced lie. We have seen the data, at least on kenke prices in Accra. And we know that the lowest price you can get for kenke today in the market in Accra is 3 cedis in some few places. But that the dominant price is 4 cedis. And that the latest price on the market, which is the price at which kenke is going for in other places, is 5 cedis. So the Minister for Agric lied. What I said was true, that I buy kenke at Usu and Chadu at 5 cedis. And you can check that for yourself. And the research confirms that. Safe to say that that is the new price that has entered the market, but the dominant price is 4 cedis. You said that, somebody can buy kenke in Tamale. Look, I just got countless messages from your constituents in Wale Wale. And I wanted to be sure before I read. So I checked with my Northeast communication officer to confirm, and he has confirmed it.
But if your communication officer is doing
no, I believe you. I believe you. Look, I believe him. I will read it to you. He says that even in Wale Wale, somebody, this is not my RCO, but I wanted to confirm. Yes. Even in Wale Wale, a ball of kenke is 5 cedis.
Hey. It's not
yes.
True. It's not true.
And he said that the cheapest price you can get is 3 Ghana cedis. I've gotten messages from Tamale because you mentioned Tamale.
Safe to say that Dr. Kabiru didn't say that kenke at Wale Wale was 2 cedis.
Yeah,
he said that. You can. He was trying to give certain examples. But I'm trying to tell you that I've gotten messages from Kumasi that in Kumasi at Doom, kenke is ranging between 3 cedis and 7 cedis. 7 cedis.
Why? Is it the size of my head?
I am telling you, 7 cedis. Tamale, They say the lowest price is 3 cedis, the average price now 4 cedis, and in some places 5 Ghana cedis. Yeah. So that your 2 cedis is
not like Accra.
So that is the point I'm making. The 2 cedis is false. Yeah. Now let's even say the dominant price is 4 cedis. That is what we need to work with. With 5 cedis, people also selling at 5 cedis and so on. And a few places selling at 3 cedis, fine.
A few places 5.
Why should the price of kenke?
Few places 5.
Why should a ball of kenke, which was going for 1 cedi under John Mahama, and President Akufo-Addo was doing kenke politics on the campaign platform, that the ball of kenke should not be sold at 1 cedi? Why should it be sold at 4 cedis? When you have spent billions of cedis on the Planting for Food and Jobs program to increase the production of maize with the aim of reducing the price of maize and, for that matter, the price of kenke. Kenke is made from maize, right? How come that under President Mahama, when we didn't boast of Planting for Food and Jobs program, a bag of maize, the big size, was 170 Ghana cedis? And today, a bag of maize in Accra here is more than 700 Ghana cedis. Because please.
I think you are.
Why? When you were complaining about a bag of maize and the price of kenke in 2008, you didn't know about the cost of transportation. Who is to blame for that high cost of transportation? Who is supposed to manage the cost of fuel? The factors that go into the pricing of fuel, exchange rate, taxes, and so on, to make sure that the price of fuel is low, so that transportation can be affordable, for it not to lead to hyperinflation. Who is supposed to do that? It is you. So when you fail to do your work, you can't turn around to use that as an excuse. He says that in terms of the economy, they have done better. His boss has said so. President Akufo-Addo has said so at the 2024 SONA and so on. And let's settle this issue here once and for all, Dr. Kabiru. You people must credit Ghanaians with some respect. How can you dress up, come and sit in the studios of Metro TV, and even get the courage to say that the economy is doing well? The economy is doing better. That in terms of the economic indices, if you want to look at averages or whatever, performance, your performance is better than us. Yeah, and that we have been in office before.
That's unfair to him.
Why?
He says that they all appreciate the challenging times and the difficulties. Yeah. However, you, and I'm paraphrasing what he's saying, you, when I say you, I mean the NDC, mounting the moral high ground.
We shouldn't mount the moral high ground because they have done better than us.
It's what will push them to do a comparative analysis.
So let's do the comparative analysis.
That ordinarily, they will not do a comparative analysis.
Let's do the comparative analysis. But before we even do the comparative analysis, let's deal with this proviso. The general proviso they always give. That, we acknowledge that the economy is in a mess. However, because the NDC people...
You've always
hold on. So you have acknowledged, but that acknowledgement is not sincere.
Why is it not sincere?
Somebody cannot tell you, I know you are suffering, but when you give that person money to prepare food for you in the house, he squanders the money. You know we are suffering, and you are wasting money on the so-called National Cathedral. You've wasted about 500 million cedis.
But you went
in building the biggest hole in the whole world.
They went in commission.
Yes. Look. No remorse. No contrition. You see yourself. You are making fun of it.
I think
it's making fun of your commissioning.
You will make fun because you see he doesn't feel for even his constituents. I just got a message from Wale. Somebody says I should tell you that in certain communities in your constituency where you want to be MP, which is the hometown of the Vice President Alhaji Bawumia, human beings are still competing, excuse my language, with ghosts, okay, in terms of drinking water. They are drinking from the same streams as goats. I want to get you the names of the community so that when you come and sit here and we are discussing these serious matters, you will not be laughing.
Is it Bukuya and Teneba?
Bukuya and Teneba. You got that message too. Bukuya and Teneba. Please. No, I didn't interject you. No, when it gets to your time, no problem.
No, let me call the
What's the name?
Right.
Bukuya,
Teneba. We have the person tells you Tia Noba and Bukuya.
Tia Noba and Bukuya.
Tia Noba and Bukuya.
Thanks for the correction.
No,
it's my time. Let me
take notes.
The point is, you can't say, I acknowledge times are hard. Yet you go for one cabinet retreat and spend 48 billion OCDs on one cabinet retreat. You can't say, I acknowledge times are hard. I acknowledge.
What did they spend in the current series? How much?
4.8 million cedis.
Okay.
One cabinet meeting. You can't say we acknowledge times are hard, and yet you go for one Independence Day celebration, 6 March at Cape Coast, and spend 10.4 million new cedis, what you like, which is equivalent to 104 billion old Ghana cedis. So you are insulting our sensibilities by pretending to acknowledge that times are hard when you are abusing the public purse, stealing from the people, and so on. You cannot, that acknowledgement is not sincere, that's the point. But now let's do the comparison.
So hold on.
Under you.
Hold on to
Oh,
the
Doc,
comparison. I need to take a break. Hold on. We'll be back shortly.
All right. You need to make money.
Right, welcome back to the show. If you just joined us, this is Good Morning Ghana Live on Metro TV. Still with me on the show, I have Dr. Kabiru Mahama and Sami Jemfi. But what does wealth mean to you? Do you want to live like a tycoon? Remember, us got the Mola, got the power. Ghana's newest lottery game draws live on Adom TV at 9 a.m., 12 noon, and 6 p.m. daily. Now pick up your phones, tablets, and computers and download the Game Park Games app on Play Store. You can also play on the website at www.gameparkgames.com or by dialing *946# on all networks. Just choose 4 numbers from 0 to 9. It's easy to play and easy to win. Charlie, make we play this game and make some mola. Nobody beats our odds in Ghana. Game Park Games, more mola, more power. This game is regulated by the National Lottery Authority and is not for persons under 18. Play responsibly. Ayasoko, that could some down be big, but Betway's cash out be bigger. Betway is giving you more control over every thrilling bet you place. Enjoy the biggest and most reliable cash out in Ghana on Betway without any hassle. Sign up today at betway.com.gh. Terms and conditions apply. Not for persons under 18. This is regulated by the Gaming Commission of Ghana. Betway, get way more. And Blue Jeans energy drink has been on the Ghanaian market for over 20 years. We already know what it does for the body. It contains vitamins and nutrients like vitamin B2, B3, B6, B12, as well as taurine and guarana, which are known to boost your strength and energy as well as promote high performance and endurance. Blue Jeans energy drink has been tested and tried. It's indeed the best. Blue Jeans energy drink is for bold and active men and women. So go and grab a cold can and power your day. It's in shops nationwide. For bulk purchases, contact Budget Cash and Carry Limited on 0208 128 190 or 055 001 0000. Sammy?
Yeah, Doc. You see, the point I was making is that nobody, who has a modicum of respect of Ghanaians, a modicum of respect for the truth, can say that this incumbent Akufo-Addo Bawumia MPP government has performed better than the ex-Wal NDC Mahama government. I don't see how anybody can make such a statement because it's simply not true. And in fact, that comparison is even a non-starter. Because number one, today Ghana's economy is a bankrupt economy. If the nation was a human being, if Ghana was a person, say Dr. Kabiru, that person would have filed for bankruptcy. Because the nation has become insolvent. The nation has gotten to a point as a result of the mismanagement and the reckless spending of the Bawumia-led economic management team that today we cannot service our debts. We have defaulted on our debt obligations, imposed a draconian debt restructuring program on domestic bondholders, people who have lent to the government, including pensioners, giving them crude haircuts. As I speak to you, we are still not servicing our external debt obligations. Nations we have borrowed from, France, China, and so on, we can't pay. We are in meetings with them pleading for relief. How can you compare a bankrupt economy, which is what we have today under your watch, to a viable economy under President Mahama, which was able to service its debts? Under President Mahama, if you compare our public debt to our GDP,
we had debt to GDP ratio of 56%. By December 2022, debt to GDP had hit 104%. That is what led to our defaults. Under President Mahama, we were servicing our debts. We were a reputable nation. We had access to the international capital market. We could go to the international capital market for Eurobonds. That is the economy President Mahama bequeathed to you. And that is why you recklessly took advantage of that. And every year you contracted approximately $3 billion in Eurobonds. You so much borrowed and spent those borrowed funds recklessly on consumption and corruption that you have defaulted. You can't service our debts. And you still have the audacity, the temerity to want to engage in a debate of comparisons. What is it? There is a verdict out there. The verdict of the sovereign credit rating agencies. Those sovereign rating credit agencies like Moody's, Fitch, Standards and Poor, they are not NDC, they are not NPP. They pass their verdicts on the state of every economy, the health of every economy, the credit worthiness of every economy. And they have said that under President Mahama, Ghana's economy was rated, they rated as B minus. Today, what is the rating? CCC. CCC, for some of the ratings, D. We are in junk status, junk category, baller economy. How can you compare the Mahama economy that was rated B minus to your economy that is today rated junk? Are you not ashamed of yourself? Don't you people have some shame? Don't you people have some shame and respect for Ghanaians? Then the economic indices you spoke about, unemployment. Look, you have economist background. So please, some of the analysis you make, you need to watch it. You can't say that you are challenging what? The unemployment figures published by the Ghana Statistical Service, and that those figures are not end of year figures.
Why can't you challenge?
If you're challenging Ghana Statistical figures, then why are you relying on the same Ghana Statistical figures for inflation? And you're saying that based on Ghana Statistical Services inflation figures, we have seen a drastic reduction.
The point is making, and if I got him right, don't correct me if I'm wrong, is that we must do like for like.
Yes.
So if you're doing unemployment figures and you want to do end year or end term, it should be end year or end term to end term.
Is that not what we are doing? No.
That's the point.
Hold on.
Is that not the point?
The Ghana Living Standard Service 7 was conducted in 2016, around August of 2016. Yeah. It returned an unemployment rate of 8.4%. Okay. That can be found at table 5.2.7 of the Ghana Living Standard Service 7 published by the Ghana Statistical Service. The 2021 population census gave us the unemployment rate for the whole year, average unemployment rate for 2021. It was 13.4%.
No, they don't give average. They give, because it's a snapshot. Population census is based on the census night. Okay.
But the census is for what?
No, that's the point I'm explaining.
But the census is for what? When we do the census is for the year 2021. It's giving you the population of Ghana for the year 2021. So whatever point the analysis is done, that the figure, all the figures they publish is for that year 2021.
No, it's not for.
Hold on, can I make my analysis? Continue, Even move beyond 2021, 2022, we were giving end of year unemployment rates. End of year. Because the current analysis that the GSS is doing, the annual housing, income, and expenditure survey that they are doing, which is a novelty that this current boss of the Ghana Statistical Service has introduced. They do it on a quarterly basis. So if you check Q4, you will know the end of year unemployment rate. And the quarter 4 unemployment rate for 2023 was 13.9. The 14.7% we have is for third quarter 2023, because they have not done the fourth quarter for 2023. So if you want to know the unemployment rate for Ghana as of September 2023, when the Q3 ended, that is the latest figure you use.
Yes.
So we are saying that under President Mahama, when he was leaving office, the latest unemployment figure, the last one was 8.4. The latest under you is 14.7. There is nothing wrong with this in terms of statistics or economics or anything. That is, his own creation. So in terms of unemployment, you have performed poorly. And please, it is also not true for you to say that your government has created jobs. What jobs have you created? Why do you people continue to peddle falsehood? What jobs? Is it the NABCO 700 Ghana cedis jobs you created, which has collapsed, and which you have refused to even pay the beneficiaries their 9-month arrears? NABCO, is that the jobs, or is it the Nobwa Bade jobs, under planting for food and jobs, the fertilizer jobs you claim to have created, about 750,000 of it? Is that the jobs you are talking about? What jobs? What jobs? If you are creating jobs like you claim, how come the unemployment rate is not reducing? And forget about what he tries to confuse you.
Because perhaps the population is also increasing.
It is a rate.
Yes.
It is not an absolute nominal figure. It's a rate.
Yes.
So it is still a percent. Either than that, then you can never compare rates.
Yeah, but the rates will also translate into nominal figures.
Exactly. So you can't. He's an economist. He should not be arguing like that. That the population is increasing, so you can't compare unemployment. That is why it's a rate. It's a percentage of the population at any given time.
Yes.
Growth rate is a rate. The size of the economy does not remain static. It keeps on changing. But it is a rate, and that is why you can compare.
Yeah.
So don't make that analysis. Exchange rates. And here, exchange rate interest rate, where he talks about averages and percentages. You know, the problem is in economics. I heard on Tuesday Husseini saying that you don't do an analysis of nominal figures. It is false. You can do nominal and then you do percentages.
He didn't say you cannot do.
Oh, he said so. Go and watch the video. I was watching the video. He said it.
That
it is wrong. People do that. It is wrong. It's convenience because he thinks that one suits him. But you can do both, and it is done. You do both. You do that. That is why when the Bank of Ghana is reporting our debt, they will give you the nominal and they will give you both. Now the point is, we can't do the percentages they want us to do now because we don't know the figures they are relying on for their percentages and their averages.
I don't understand what you're saying.
So they tell you that average interest rate for a certain period is 10%. What figures did they use for that?
But we know the interest rate.
No. For example, let me show you something. When you go and read Bawumia's 73 page speech,
he said,
where he says that averagely they've done well relative to the fiscal deficits. Look at the figures he uses. He says that the fiscal deficit for 2018, he gives you 4.5. When that figure, government itself has abandoned it. He gives you a different figure for 2018, different from the figures they themselves presented to the IMF when they went for the $1 billion rapid credit facility and reported a full picture of our expenditure against revenue and, for that matter, the deficits. So the figures they are using are not before us.
Incorrect data.
Exactly. So if you use incorrect data, you get incorrect averages. Okay. So if you say that the average, you have done better in terms of averages and percentage, give us those specific figures year by year so that we can check you if you are relying on false figures. And then we will be able to tell you that your averages or percentages are 40. Either than that, the easiest thing to do is what he himself called for, and that is what I would do. What was the exchange rate at the time John Mahama was leaving office? What is the exchange rate now? When the dollar was selling at 3 cedis, 80 pesos under John Mahama, Bawumia tweeted and said, we should not be buying dollar at 3 cedis, 80 pesos. It was a mark of incompetence.
Was it Nana Akufo-Addo, Dr. Bawumia?
Both of them. 3 cedis, 80 pesos, both of them. Now you come into office and the dollar is 13 cedis and over. Then you want to tell Ghanaians that a dollar rate of 4 cedis is to $1. Your dollar rate of 13 cedis to $1 is better than Mahama's 4 cedis to $1. I mean, what are you doing to yourself?
So as I tried to explain,
what are you doing to yourself?
As I tried to explain last week, and there are two issues, and there's a reason why I read the Honorable Abner Asari's statement. Okay. So last week, as I was explaining, I said from 1 cedi to 2 cedis is 100%. But for 2 cedis, from 2 cedis to 3 cedis is 50%.
Don't even use those figures. Look, 1 cedis to 2 cedis, 100%, right? 2 cedis to 3.5 cedis.
Yeah, 75%.
75%.
Yes.
Realize that the nominal is 1 cedi, 50 pesos
Yeah,
from
so-
2 cedis
so-
to 3
so-
cedis.
so if-
but the percentage is less,
So on
and
the
you can
face,
say
on the
that
face of it,
that percentage is
what
better
you
than
be
the nominal.
what you be trying to do if you just isolate
Yeah.
it.
But the problem with that is
Yes.
that if I move something from 1 cedi to 2 cedi, the percentage is 100%. Now,
From 2 cedis to 3.5.
now, it means that I have doubled it within a period.
Yes.
That's the mean of it.
Yes.
Now, on the same token, if I move it from 2 cedi to 4 cedi, I have doubled it. Okay, that's the mean of it. So the measures I'll put in place to avoid the doubling of the exchange rate is what we are talking about.
The measures
You know-
should
Now,
not be aimed at.
you cannot
Let
say
me
that.
come here,
You
it's my
cannot
time.
say that.
It's good. You've made a point.
No,
let me come here.
let me just finish clarifying that because you've even I
I've
don't
been
even know when it's
very
time to respond
gracious
to
and
respond to
magnanimous.
that. But you can finish. Maybe I'll try to respond.
Okay.
to
The
them.
point I'm making is that, Doc, percentages, that is a point you are also making. Percentages don't always tell the full picture. That's number one.
So I was going to conclude by telling you that this 1 cedi to 2 cedis and 2 cedis to 3 cedis, which you even amplified it better by making it 3.5, which in nominal terms is even bigger. But in percentage terms shows
It's
that
75%.
Now, after all these percentages, you're looking at the impact
Yes.
of what has happened on the economy.
Yes.
Now, even if in percentage terms, you say that from the percentage terms, it looks like, oh, there's some 10% as against some 17%. But we are told that in a single year, 100 billion was added to our debt. 100 billion. That is the impact, the effect of that 10%. And so, if you just concern yourself with 10% and 17%, it does not relate to the state of the economy and the impact of that on the economy.
Exactly.
Because the biggest question you need to ask yourself is, how did that 17% impact on your economy, whether adversely or not? And how has the 10% impacted on your economy?
So, in other words, you're saying that with John Mohammed's exchange rates, whatever percentage they want to give, at the end of the day, if you check its impact on the public debt, it was still sustainable. We're still able to service that debt. Now, the impact of your so-called percentage on your debt is so gargantuan that today your public debt has gone out of hands. You can't service it. That is one point. But let me even add another layer. Another point is that, Doc, when we are talking about indices like exchange rates, comparison of percentages is completely useless. Because when you go to the Forex Bureau this morning to buy dollar,
Stop going there.
I should go where?
You're not an importer. Stop going
So
there.
I should go where? I go there a lot.
You go there a lot to do what?
If you are
I've
going
been
to travel,
renting.
if you are going
I
to
just
travel,
rented
go
a
to the bank,
space.
sure.
I just paid for rent for our
You'll be
NDC.
arrested.
Forest Bureau. Are
No,
they
you'll be
illegal?
arrested for going to pay rent in dollars.
But even they are giving road contracts in euros, cocoa road contracts.
No, they will.
And
You
dollars.
think in euros and
They
pay
and
indicate.
dollars.
You
They,
think
they,
in euros
they,
and
they
But once you
indicate-
peg it in dollars, you always pay the equivalent. So that is the problem. You understand? And they are paying a lot of things in dollars. But that was just by the way. Doc, the point is, when you want to buy safer, when you want to buy dollar today, you will buy it at the prevailing nominal rate.
Yes.
You will have to cough up 130,000 cedis to be able to get 10,000 US dollars today. 130,000 cedis and over to get $10,000. Whereas under President Mahama, you needed only 38,000 cedis, at most 40,000 cedis to get the same $10,000. If you were holding 5,000
have
cedis,
improved.
if you were holding 5,000 cedis under President Mahama, it could get you at a rate of 4 cedis to the dollar. It could get you $1,250. Today, the same 5,000, you get $378.
Your incomes have improved.
What incomes? What incomes? Look at the rate of inflation. You understand? So, the livelihoods of Ghanaians, that's the point, have deteriorated. This is the key point. A deterioration in the living conditions of Ghanaians.
Okay, Sammy.
Doc, all
Sorry,
the indices, even interest rates, averagely 2016, 25%. In 2022, it went to between 35% and 40%. Never use that figure, 30% anywhere. 2022, it went all the way to 38, 37. As I speak, 2023. No. Doc, even interest, the treasury bill rate.
Yes.
This is a publication, my job online. Ghana maintains position with highest interest rates in Africa, 2023.
Which date? 2023.
Yes,
okay.
4th January 2024. It was published in January 2024.
29%.
But currently, it's
Yes, but I'm saying that this is if for the year ending 2023. So it was published in January 2024. And as at that time it had eased. By December, interest rates had eased.
It was 20 what?
The 91-day treasury bill rate, 29.2%.
Yeah.
Treasury bill, not lending rate. Treasury bill.
check
That is
the-
government's rate too.
check
182 day,
yeah.
31.8. So even if treasury bill is going for this rate, the normal lending rate, you check. Even now as I speak, banks are lending at 35% as we speak. And interest rates in Ghana, the highest in Africa.
Okay.
So please, there is no basis to do a comparison. That comparison is an insult to the sensibilities of Ghanaians, 800,000 of whom have been plunged into poverty in 2022 alone as a result of your recklessness.
Okay. So,
but even if we do that comparison, there is not even one index that you have performed better than the NDC. And finally, he said growth rate was 2.7% in 2016 and 6% under them. I don't know whether that was a hypothetical example.
13 to 16.
That is
average,
false.
average.
That's
What was the average?
for the period?
What average are you talking about? 2016, the growth rate was 3.6%.
Yeah, I'm saying
No, I'm
average.
saying-
So give us those figures you
And
average.
so we just ask for this.
13,
Don't say
14.
Give me the
that's
figures
false.
you
Don't say
average.
it's false. So
Give me the figures
Let
you
me-
average.
let me
We
make
ended
my
with
submission.
3.6. That is what we know. You 2023 you projected 1.5%. President Akufo-Addo in the SONA says you have 2.8%. It is still not better. So if you want to use averages for growth rate
As a matter
to
of
say
fact-
that you have done better, give us the figures you
We
average.
even did lower than 2.4 because we grew at 0.4 or something.
Exactly, but I'm saying that what
the-
figures did
the
you
context-
average?
So gentlemen, just hold on.
Context is
Dr. Kabir,
important,
I'll
yeah.
give you
What figure
some
did you
time
average?
to deal with the issues that you have
But no,
written.
ask him what
Okay.
figures did they
Hold on.
use for the averages?
He'll take notes.
You will tell us.
He'll tell you,
You have
he'll
all
tell
your
you.
time.
He'll
You
tell
have all your time.
He'll tell
You can easily
Let's-
go to
let's,
2015, 2014
let me
and
let
get the
me
figures
let
Give us
me
the
let
figures
me
you use for
quickly
that.
let me quickly move to Zoom and have this conversation, and then I'll get back to you on this. I have Mr. Ben Boachi, who's the executive director of ASEP, on the line. The issues of the energy sector, especially the power subsector, has come up seriously, and I need to speak with him on the issue. Is our go-to person when it comes to the sector. Good morning, Ben.
Good morning, Doc.
You're
good
looking
morning to
good
my
as
friends.
always.
Thank you.
Are we in Doomsaw?
I think now, depending on where you are and how you define it, you may say there is doom or not. But the reality is that we have shortfall in generation, and therefore, consistently, power has to be cut to actually distribute the limited generation capacity that we do have at this point. And that cannot be contested because we are not generating enough power to meet the needs of Ghana.
But Ben, that's not what officialdom, in this case ECG, is telling us. ECG has hinted that people will have problems with power at peak time. But then they refer to equipments and some transformers and all those things and give us the reasons why we should expect those interruptions during peak time. I mean, in the last 2 or 3 years, this issue of generation and indebtedness and all that have come up. And there's been serious calls for a timetable, especially in the last 6 months or so. We have been denied a timetable because the position of officialdom is that we do not have doomsday. Whatever we are experiencing are just intermittent. There are a lot of expressions and adjectives that are used to describe what is actually happening. And so you zeroing on a shortfall in generation and all that is different from what we are being told by officialdom.
Yeah, I mean, for any power system, you certainly will have some localized problems. You will have transformers tripping. Particularly in our case, it could be much more rampant. But beyond that, it's a significant deficit from the generation side. And if you listen to one interview, from ECG, I mean, you don't need to be a superhuman to listen and hear the contradictions even within those interviews. At one point, they'll tell you, there's some gas shortage, and gas shortage obviously will lead to generation shortfall. Sometimes they will tell you some power plants are undergoing maintenance. That certainly will also lead to a shortfall. All right. So those inconsistencies points to what they should be communicating, that we are not generating enough. So regardless of what localized problems you may have, we still have a generation shortfall, which is deepening the crisis. If you say you are doing maintenance, I'm not sure you'll be doing the maintenance in the night where the power outages are much more significant, where we shut in sometimes up to 400, 500 megawatts of power. And that quantum of power gap, you cannot hide it, and that's why people, will see it. They will see the spread. And sometimes when you see the spread, you will know that it is not coming from the distribution system. If it is a localized problem, you can even look at through your window and you see the extent to which the shortfall is going. But if it is, within a big catchment area, then it tells you that a whole distribution, substation has been shut down. And that really tells you that it has been deliberately taken down by the operators of the system. And what that happens is that, in the control room, Greco sees every country, every part of the country. So the workers on duty at any particular time can monitor how much power we have and the rise in demand. So if power demand is growing above what we are supplying, the prudent thing to do is to take down some of the demand centers so that the system does not crash. They will not wait for the demand to, rise above the supply to see a total collapse of the system. So they will take it down before that happens. So the discretion then now is with the workers who are in the control room to be deciding which part of the country should go off. So they also sometimes understand the quantum of power needed averagely within every, what they call feeder. They know if, for example, the Tema Enclave is about 300 megawatts, Accra East is maybe 400 megawatts, or around the Pond area is 200 megawatts. If they see that the shortfall is around 200, 300, or 150, they decide where they can take down so that the system can still function. So it's such a wide discretion for those operating the control center to take down areas that they think should go down so that the system doesn't crash. And that is what has been happening. And that's why sometimes you hear ECG even blaming Greco for some of the power cuts that we are seeing. But they cannot watch the system to collapse. They will have to take down some areas to ensure that the grid is stable, and then at least some power can go to other parts of the country without impacting the entire...
Ben, is this to suggest that these shortfalls are erratic? They are not planned. They are not known. And therefore, those on duty are confronted with a situation that was unknown, that was unexpected, and therefore a decision has to be taken.
No, I mean, the case of fuel shortfall has been known from the beginning of the year. We have always known that the gas supply is not enough at this point because we have contractually curtailed what can come from Nigeria, and therefore the quantum that will come from Nigeria. You know how much is being produced domestically. So if you put that together, you are not able to generate enough with the gas. You need to make liquid fuel available for other plants that can actually switch to liquid fuel to be able to generate that. If you don't have enough liquid fuels, then of course you cannot generate enough power. And we've known this from the beginning of the year. And that is what is actually happening.
Ben,
And
if you say that we have contractually curtailed the supply of gas, what exactly do you mean?
Maybe let me try and summarize that. We had a contractual arrangement with NGAS to supply about 120 million standard cubic feet of gas per day to Ghana. At some point, we know that supply from Nigeria was also erratic, and we needed to put in place our own mechanisms from domestic production, and also at some point, government wanted to import LNG. So we went into that arrangement to cut the supply to around 30 million standard cubic feet of gas firmed, and which they can do upwards of about 60 SCAF per day, so that we don't sign up to LNG and then Nigeria says they are ready to give us take or pay 120 SCAF. So that curtailment actually firmed supply to around 30 SCAF, and they've been doing around 50 60 SCAF sometimes. So now you cannot compel Nigeria to do 120 contractually. And they also have not been given that much gas. Unfortunately for us also, gas is becoming scarce in Nigeria because LNG is more expensive now. Europe needs it because of the Russian-Ukraine war. So they are better off exporting LNG, liquefying the gas and sending it to Europe to go and sell. So they are happy that now they don't have obligation to even supply 120 SCAF per day. So that is something we're going to have to deal with. Unfortunately, also the LNG that we're supposed to bring in, which at the time we even criticized, we didn't need it. We needed to, emphasize on domestic production, regulatory processes to ensure that companies operating in Ghana can produce more gas. We can, process that gas and use it, because that was more secure than even thinking about import. Those processes, we failed to optimize them. We are in court with ENI, the most capable company in Ghana at this point that could have produced more gas for us. Their interest in Ghana has waned quite significantly because we are litigating rather than having a reasonable conversation to actually get them to produce more gas for us. So these policy choices is what has made gas supply short to Ghana, and therefore now we have to go and bring in liquid fuels. And the sad reality is that we don't have the money to be able to do that, because the power that is sold through ECG cannot recover the money to be able to even pay for the power that has been generated, let alone to procure a more expensive fuel to fire the power plant. So that is the reality, the summary of what the situation is.
Ben, how do you explain all this to a Ghanaian or anybody who's heard that we have excess capacity, we have too much power than we need, and yet you say that anytime there's a shortfall of 300 megawatts, we'll experience such interruptions in power supply? How do you explain that to a person who is trying to reconcile these two?
I think that the question of excess capacity hasn't even been explained well enough by those who claim there is excess. Excess capacity is not a straight line function, or is not a consistent event. At any particular point, you have to estimate how much power you need and what plants are redundant in that particular instance. So if, for example, a plant is going on maintenance, it cannot be deemed to be excess, even when the plant is available or it is still in Ghana. It doesn't qualify to be excess. A plant can only be excess when it is available, it is functional, and we don't have use for it. And therefore, we have to pay the contractor because we've signed take or pay agreement. So at every given time, the regulators and managers of the system have to account what that excess look like. And at this point, if you're accounting a company, I mean, like Asogli for now, cannot operate optimally, but will have to pay the take-or-pay obligations, all right? Because you have not given them fuel, and we have the fuel obligation, they will have some capacity in excess of what.
Right. I think that we had a blip with Ben's connection. We'll get back to Ben to finish up on this discussion. So let me come to you whilst we wait to reconnect to Ben. Yes. You wanted to make some...
Oh, you don't want to talk about Doomso?
Yeah, I mean, a couple of things, but I don't know whether the time will allow us to talk about them, but just to correct some few things.
Yes.
One, on the unemployment issue.
Okay.
The figure being used is produced from the annual household expenditure and income bulletin for last quarter. And that was the 14.7% unemployment
last
rate.
quarter?
I mean, for the last quarter, I mean, of last year, they are using quarter 3.
Yes, he said
Quarter 3.
Yes.
So that quarter 3 estimate is what they are
September
putting at,
2023.
yes, at 14.7%.
Yes.
But the problem with that is that you cannot compare a quarter unemployment with a year end of unemployment. That's the problem we have.
You can't compare 3 quarters to 4 quarters.
to 4 quarters.
Okay.
That is the problem. 2, we've always raised the issue about
But
even in that report,
currently, the Ghana Statistical Service does not publish end of year unemployment. They only give you quarterly.
No, I guess the point is making is that when the Q4 comes, you have a full picture of the year.
That's year unemployment.
So let's use the 2022 figures.
Yeah, we can.
There is an end of year, which is 13.9.
We can.
We
So
can.
high,
Even in that report has detailed some reduction in what do you call it, in unemployment rate over the previous quarter in the same period in 2022.
But you can still find the annual.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. So for set figures, they will move down and move up depending on the labor force participation. The labor force participation is the cardinal determinant of such how many people at that particular point in time are willing and ready looking for a job. So that figure will always depend on the quarter.
Yeah, but whichever way you look at it,
whichever way you look at it, unemployment rate.
No, it has different. That's what I say. To measure set figures, you have to use the international standard for county level.
So, Kabiru, stop the...
No, it's
okay.
Okay, so move on to that.
Yeah, for county level, I'm a cross-country, comparison.
All right.
And that's what the World Bank figures comes handy. Because they are able to model country-based specific.
You can't use World Bank unemployment because the minister,
I am saying
minister for employment, your minister for employment has gone to parliament to tell our parliamentarians that the World Bank's definition for unemployment is different from Ghana's definition for unemployment. And that is why they don't use World Bank figures.
No, but I'm saying that
so don't use
their
World Bank
definitions
figures.
are different, but they are able to do cross-level comparison of unemployment based on a model and based on country
based
level.
on different definitions.
Okay, so for that consists so that they did unemployment rate of around 6% in their tenure as a government from 2012 to 2016. But this government is doing an average of 4%.
World Bank unemployment figures in Ghana
6%,
because the Minister for Employment says that is wrong definition. It doesn't apply to Ghana.
Are you
Why are you doing
suggesting
something that your minister
are you
said we should
suggesting
do?
that?
Because David was speaking.
Oh, I allowed you.
Dr. Kabiru,
Have you forgotten how generous I was?
Are you suggesting that, irrespective of the fact that the Ghana Statistical Service tells us that by the end of Q4 of 2022, unemployment rate was 13.9.
Yeah.
We should jettison that and go and take a World Bank report.
No, I'm not saying you should jettison
Where,
that.
Based on a different definition of unemployment.
Where the definition of unemployment by the Ghana Statistical Service and the definition of unemployment by the World Bank differs. Which one should we rely on? Is it our own Ghana Statistical Service?
So that is what I'm saying. When you are taking the Statistical Service report, you must read it and interpret it in its entirety.
Yes.
Okay.
But that's what he did. He used data from the same source.
No, I'm saying the report says the average rate of unemployment in the country has risen to 14.7% in the first 3 quarters of 2023.
Yes.
The number of unemployed youth aged between 15 and 20 rose from about 1.3 billion to over 1.2 billion to over
million
to over 1.3 million during the same period. with the rate among females considered higher than males. This is according to sources. So let me just skip to this. The survey further indicated the number of youth without jobs in 2022 only saw a dip in the second quarter of last year. The number of youth, and let me repeat, the number of youth without jobs in 2022 only saw a dip in the second quarter of last year. The sharp increase in unemployment rate for females between the fourth quarter of 2022 and the first quarter of 2023 has culminated in a wide unemployment gap, gender gap in 2023 relative to 2024. So within the same report, it is telling you that about 440,000 persons joined the labor force between 2023 first quarter and 2023 third quarter, of which more than 60% were employed during the period.
Do you know those who left the labor force, according to the same report?
How many?
4.5 million.
So guys,
exited the labor force.
4.5
million.
Ben is back on the line, so let me go back to Ben. Yes, Ben, welcome back. Hello, Ben. Okay, all right. We'll still reach out.
So
to
on that, we'll come to them. So I think we have some time to talk.
We
about
don't.
Them, so we don't have time.
It should be
so,
short.
I mean,
so make yours short. So that I can also talk about them.
So, but he also talked about, nominal, trying to say that, Fuseni said something that nominal should not. Look, the problem with nominals, he's an economist, he's a finance person. He knows that when you are using nominals as compared to percentage, you are not able to account for, even for instance, the inflation, exchange rate. When you are measuring in dollars and you have depreciation of your currency and you are converting it in nominal terms, you are likely to have a huge GDP. Okay, but when you're using as a percentage of, you are using real GDP, you account for some of those things. So I'm sure Fuseni might have been coming from this particular angle of about nominal.
Right. Welcome back. Welcome back, Ben.
Thanks for having me. I think that all the telcos have a challenge this morning.
Anyway, so let's finish up on this issue of. In fact, let's move on to. Let me ask you this question, and I'll move on to something that you've researched and written extensively on, which is the cash waterfall mechanism, which is something that has been raised a lot in the last few weeks. But let me ask, in your candid opinion, do the people of this country deserve a timetable, a load-shedding timetable?
No, I think it's important that we put out a schedule for people to follow, because otherwise, like I indicated, you leave that discretion to people who are on duty to decide who to take down, and that could be too wide for the Greco staff to just monitor and say, this is the area we want to go off today, when we actually know that, power supply will not be enough to meet demand. So on that score, you also need to get people planning their lives. Even if you don't give them, even if they get power, or you have enough at some point to supply, and you don't take it down, it's better for them to know that they were supposed to go off and they didn't, than just leaving them not knowing what is going to happen in the evening. So on that score, I think we would have to. And in the past, we have even put out a schedule for 100 megawatt supply cap. So how much more 400 megawatts, 500 megawatts? It's significant not to give a schedule. And I think it's important that we put out a schedule for people.
From your sources in the industry, why would the ECG not want to put out a timetable?
That I don't even understand. I don't understand, because you have obligation to supply the power to the people. In most cases, we even buy the power before you supply it. It's prepaid. So if you are not able to supply, you know that you're not able to supply the power. The worst you can do is to just let people know that I'm unable to give you power today because I don't even have enough to give you. And I think that would be a fair thing to do than just to leave people not knowing when you're going to take the power, when indeed you know that you will take the power.
Okay. Well, it's a no-brainer to say that the ECG, by virtue of performance, is a not fit for purpose institution. Talking about the fact that we're told that it makes about 30% losses and can only account for probably maybe 70% of the power that is given to it. Now, this led to the creation of a waterfall mechanism to ensure that at least those who supply power to the ECG are able to be guaranteed some amount of money, monthly or quarterly or whatever. I believe that this waterfall mechanism is under the auspices of the Office of the Vice President. Yet, you wrote about this waterfall mechanism, and you had some very, very damning revelations about its operations and the fact that we were not following it. The waterfall mechanism the cash waterfall mechanism has come up again as something which is really not operating according to the original purpose.
Yes, I mean, for us, we always thought that the cash waterfall mechanism was not a solution to the problems of the power sector. Because you want a power sector that is able to sell power, recover revenues, and pay everybody in the value chain. What the cash waterfall mechanism sought to do was to just pay at least something to everybody based on the collection, which for me was not, the solution to actually make sure that ECG is responsible to collect all revenues possible and be able to meet its obligations. However, I mean, it was able to at least ensure that the generators are getting something. The transmission companies also get some revenue, at least every month. So it was operational for some time. It worked to meet, those needs, even though the IPPs were still complaining that they were not getting revenue. But at some point, ECG decided that they won't comply, with the cash waterfall mechanism, and they thought they needed more money, and more control over their revenues, and they didn't comply. They insisted that the mechanism should be refined based on what proposals they had on the table to be able to keep some revenue. And I think the committee complied. They did an assessment and reviewed the mechanics around it for ECG to get more revenue. And still, the proposal they themselves brought up and was approved, they are still not complying. You're supposed to put all the money into a pot and then distribute per the formula that has been agreed, and they were still not complying with the formula. And that's what PRC has been highlighting. You check their report from August last year. They kept saying that ECG is not complying with the mechanism that has been approved for revenue distribution, in this space. And this consistently put pressure, not just on those who are acting in the state, but also on government to be able to find money from somewhere to meet the needs of the power sector. Remember when ABBEY threatened to shut down? They had to find money to be able to stop them from shutting down. And increasingly, the sector players are beginning to appreciate that, government and ECG only understand shutdown. We saw WACO also shutting down. They actually went ahead to shut down the pipeline. They've done that on 2 occasions. And anytime they did that, quickly we were able to mobilize some funds to pay some money. If we allow that to go, then everybody in the value chain is now going to be threatening to get money when ECG collects and decides to use the money the way they want. And you track the expenditures of the company, and they are increasingly getting more inefficient in their prioritization of the funds. And you struggle to see when, that would stop for more revenues to go to the value chain for the system to be sustainable. As we speak, government, if you check all the reports, on the average, government has to commit about 250 million Ghana cedis every month to be able to meet some of the payment requirements in the sector. Beyond what it is paying for other gas supply, like the ENI one, which has become more or less like a foreign transaction. So ENI will go and then draw down on our LCs, we'll convert that to a loan, and then we'll pay within a year. And that has become a normal practice, which government is paying. Beyond that, we still have to pay almost 250 million Ghana cedis every month to be able to meet the sector payment requirements. which is really, really difficult for a country like Ghana that is struggling even before the IMF. And even when we put up the 250, there are still debt accumulation on the IPP side because ECG has only committed to pay $43 million dollars a month. $43 million is about 20% of what we should pay the IPPs. All right. So on that side,
20%.
debt is still accumulating, and then government still has to put up $250 million every month to support ECG to survive. So the whole sector is unsustainable, and the entire country continues to be unsustainable if we're going to channel our resources to the power sector rather than actual socioeconomic development of the country.
Now, Ben, I need to let you go, but in a minute, what will make a country, a government, decide that it will continue with this ECG vehicle as it is? I mean, the board of the ECG is appointed by the government. Everybody sitting on that board is appointed by the government. The managing director appointed by the government. All these inefficiencies, this cash waterfall mechanism under the auspices of the vice president, you've told us that even this 43 million constitutes about some 20% of the payments due the IPPs. We have to look for some 250,000 elsewhere. The ENI drawdown on the LC and all that is also another issue. Who in his right senses will continue this kind of business?
No, I think from where we sit as policy analysts, we can only look at it from political economy analysis and political settlement perspectives, and only to say that if somebody is not benefiting from that chaos and that inefficiency, it will not continue. It would have been stopped long ago. So maybe perhaps what we need to do is to zoom in to see who is benefiting from the chaos, and then this application of funds and diversion of critical funds. I mean, you remember 2 weeks ago we were talking about even the exchange rate that ECG reported to the cash waterfall mechanism. You know, at the point when Bank of Ghana was quoting 11.4 to the dollar, ECG said they were buying dollar at 13.95. I'm not sure even the black market was selling dollar in October last year at that rate. But that was the rate they were buying dollar. And they reported that there has been some denials that they were not buying dollar at that rate. If they were not, then it means that they have to account for over 100 million Ghana cedis of revenue for that exchange variation or disparity. Who is holding them accountable for that revenue that we cannot trace based on just exchange rate variations? So for everybody to be quiet around these gross abuse, it tells you that the political system is benefiting from it. And those who are benefiting from it may be too powerful to control what is the waste that is happening in that space. So you can only explain it through political settlement lens and not any other thing. Otherwise, why would the budget of Ghana be paying more than $1 billion a year and still keep some debt in the books and nobody is acting, to stop that kind of bleeding?
Anyway, Ben, thanks for your time this morning, and enjoy the rest of the day.
Thank you.
This Dumso matter, because I'm very sad. And I'm sad that after the visionary nation builder John Mahama solved and took the nation out of this problem of Dumso, the reckless Akufo-Addo Bawumia government has plunged this nation back into Dumso. I mean, there cannot be any question about the fact that Dumso is back. Dumso is not only back, it is back in full force. That is a reality. I mean, the calls I get, even me, yesterday my light was off for the greater part of the day. Whether it is Tamale or Kufuridua or Takoradi or Kumasi, I mean, the complaints are all over. It's a nationwide problem. Dumso is back. And for those who continue to play the ostrich, continue to insult our sensibilities by lying that Dumso is not back, I want to tell them that President Akufo-Addo in opposition defined Dumso. And so we are working with Akufo-Addo's definition of doomsday. And this is a definition he provided in a tweet on the 30th of October 2012. And this is what he said. Mr. President, referring to then President Mahama, Mr. President, if the lights go out and come back on, isn't that doomsday? This was a direct quotation. So we know today that the lights keep going out and keep coming back on. And therefore, what we're experiencing is doomsday. And this situation has persisted for months. Yet, because of the dishonest leaders we have today, they are playing ostrich and they are in self-denial, denying the obvious. When Ghanaians are the ones experiencing it, and for that matter, they know the truth and the reality. And like Ben has explained, this doomsday we are going through is a money problem. Because it's as a result of a generational shortfall created by financial problems. Government doesn't have money to pay the IPPs and the SOEs in the energy sector. If you check the validation report for the price, the waterfall mechanism for January 2024, we're supposed to pay the IPPs 514 million. We paid only 120 million cedis. We're supposed to pay the SOEs, VRA, Gridco, and so on, 300 million. We paid only 164. So they are broke, they are bankrupt, and that is what is causing this. And they shouldn't have been, having had over 24 billion Ghana cedis from ESLA, which Mahama bequeathed to them. But they are in this situation, and we are all facing the consequences because of the mismanagement. Doc, number two, very quickly. This doomsday we are going through is the worst form of doomsday we have ever gone through.
Really?
I get sad when people try to do a comparison that, oh, one was sustained for a long time. This is the worst form, Doc. And I say so because of two simple reasons. It is worse to experience hunger at a time of a bumper harvest than to experience hunger at a time of drought. Between 2013 and 2015, when we experienced doomsday for a prolonged period, that was a time of drought because the power was simply not in existence. Today, they are complaining about excess power. Installed capacity is more than 5,000 megawatts. The power is there. This is a time of bumper harvest of power as a result of John Mahama's visionary leadership. Yet because of mismanagement, which has rendered the power sector bankrupt, we don't have power. Again, this is the worst form of doomsday because hitherto, we had a timetable that could allow us to plan our lives. Today, this government is shedding load, and they have been shedding load between 300 megawatts to 500 megawatts for months. And yet they don't even have the decency to give the people of this country a load shedding timetable so that we can plan our lives. And look, finally, they should stop. Mr. Dubik Mahama, is that his name, the ECG boss?
Yes.
He should cut his arrogance and credit the people of this country
What has he
with some
done?
respect. In the midst of his mismanagement, in the midst of this doomsday, he goes to sit in the studio of a TV station, and he has the effrontery to tell Ghanaians that the enjoyment of electricity is a privilege.
Are you not taking him out of context?
What context?
I'm told that.
This is not even
I'm
recent.
told
It's not
that.
even a recent.
What context?
I'm told that he made that statement within the context of the issues.
Yeah.
But see,
Yellow
what
Crow.
context?
Yellow Crow,
What
yeah.
context
Where
can make?
when
you
people,
can never.
yes.
Look, you can never. No contest can justify a statement
No, you don't get it.
by the head of ECG
No, you don't get the point I'm
that
making.
electricity
The point
is
I'm-
a privilege.
The point I'm making is that if people do not watch, first of all, the question that he was asked,
Yeah.
the reason for which he made that statement,
Yeah.
and then you
I
just
get
hear,
it, but
you just
Doc,
hear that he said
I get
that.
it. But Doc, my
you
point
might take
is,
him differently.
I get it, but boy,
I'm
Doc, my
not
point-
saying that his answer to that question was the best answer.
But that
he
is
could
what
have
I'm
given.
saying. I'm saying that if, for example, people are misusing lights or they are disconnecting electricity or whatever, your answer to that cannot say that electricity is a privilege.
Okay.
It's an essential commodity necessary for human life.
Okay.
So if you have that mindset that electricity is a privilege, we will be in this mess. It's not a privilege. That's my point.
On the issue of doomsday.
No matter the question he was asked, he shouldn't have said so.
And please don't interrupt.
On the issue of doomsday, I
I
think
was
that
not serious.
Mr. Benjamin Boache has stated clearly that depending on how you want to term it, whether to term it a doomsday or whatever, that was his opening remark. because of the circumstances around these current intermittent power outages. Whatever the nomenclature you want to give
it says that Ghanaians deserve a timetable.
No, he says that, but that's what I'm clear. But on the issue, the first question was whether or not we are back to doom so.
Yes.
And his answer was clear.
What is doom so?
Yeah, so I mean, that was it. He said depending on. So that's, I don't want us to go into the...
Tree doom so simply means on and off.
Yeah,
yes.
So I'm saying that I'm not even willing to go into the nomenclature
So don't even go.
of what it is now. The problem we are facing now is that
Which language do you
Ghanaians,
speak?
we speak Mamprole.
Mamprole.
Yeah.
What is on and off in Mamprole?
Nyuan, Pihika Nyuan.
Eh?
Pihika Nyuan.
Pinka Nyuan. Okay.
So the issue is Ghanaians are facing some intermittent power outages. The EC has come to explain. I mean, the ECG has come to explain. Another group of people think that the explanation does not suffice. In other words, they think there was some generational deficiency or deficit. They are not able to tell us how much of the deficit is as a result of generation. I would have expected that they
Ben
tell us
said between 300 and 500.
between 300, but from the EC's own showing,
Yes.
we have installed generation capacity at peak of 2,500 megawatt, 2,500 megawatt. However, at peak consumption, we are doing 2,400 megawatts of power. Clearly, there is a surplus of 100 megawatt of power. And he even posed the question of excess capacity.
Yeah. But Ben explains that for some of the plants, like Asogli, we are under contractual obligation to provide fuel. So although Asogli might have, for purpose of this discussion, let's say 300 megawatts, if you must provide fuel for the 300 to become operational, you are not providing the fuel. Obviously, you can have capacity of 2,500, but you cannot rely on it because the fuel to make it 2.5 is not available.
Yeah, so we have installed capacity of certain plants. And we have the, what you call, generational capacity.
I own a car. If there's no petrol in the car, it's useless.
I get it. The difference between what you have and what you produce is what we term excess capacity. Most of the plants are not in full capacity because of the demand. Our consumption demand of electricity is lower than what they can produce. And because of he explained the take or pay agreement, we are forced to pay for that. That has been a different discussion we've had here, and we are not going to. But the issue at ECG with the price, cash waterfall mechanism, is actually government generating the revenue. And let's commend Mr. Dubik Mahama. Under his tenure, ECG has had significant improvement in revenue collection by the measures he put in place.
What about how has the revenue collection impacted the cash waterfall mechanism?
I'm coming to that.
The stability
we have had significant improvement, and we are all playing ostriches when this issue about privatization of ECG came up. And you mentioned you
are not answering my question. I need to go.
You dovetail into that.
I said the improvement in the revenue.
He has mentioned
of ECG. How has that improved the cash waterfall mechanism?
He explained rightly so that the cash fall,
I'm sure you read the PRC report.
I have been in meetings that this.
In fact, the cash waterfall mechanism is under the vice president.
No, it's his. He instituted this in collaboration with others, stakeholders in the industry. Okay, and he convinced me then to discuss that as a novel approach to addressing the financial situation in the energy sector. Okay, we know that, and he's not running away from that. Okay, he's not running away from that. But I'm saying that he has admitted, Mr. Boche has admitted that the system has been working until ECG raised some issues, very genuine issues.
And the issues were rectified. For them, whatever they presented was adopted, yet.
That is his part. That is his part of the story.
That?
No, I'm saying that is his part of the story.
The PRC report vindicates that position.
PRC report somehow speaks to the issue.
PRC is the regulator, not so.
I know PRC is the regulator, and I know Dr. Aka.
Emphatic. It's here. I can read it to you.
No, you don't have to read it because I'm making this my time.
We need to go.
So, but let us credit them. But when the issue
credit who?
No, ECG for the work done in raising the revenue, but for the improvement in the revenue and some payment made, despite it being inadequate.
But doctor,
that's why it being adequate. Doctor, our situation would have been worse. Doctor, and their situation they experienced in Dumso for 1 full year with that power would have had a repetition of same here. Okay, and the easy as a player, they have some 350 or 330 transformers. I mean, which have intermittent problems. Okay. Why are we not agreeing with that explanation?
Can you tell us that?
No, well, there's no need. If there's a need,
let me doom you.
If there's a need for
Thanks for joining me. I'm Next Metro Sports.
Okay.
Doom him and